I kind of make my stream for people like me, which is granted a very small percentage of the population. But when I go to somebody's stream and it says stream starting soon, I usually just go to another stream and I might not even come back.
I feel that. I've just realised I've got to go in and change something because the chat's going to go above your face, which I don't want. So let me just jump into a different. I've got it all in a
But the
different
chat
scene.
may want that.
They might. They might want to disappear into a nostril, but they're not allowed. Chat main. I think that's it there. So it should be all right just down there. We'll just do that and then I can come back. All right. It should be okay.
Hey, Vicky. Oh, yeah, well, it's not actually... Well, it is a song. Have you ever heard that John Cage piece, 4 minutes and 22 seconds? That's what we're starting with.
Wait, are we doing some listening? Okay, we're doing listening first. Okay.
You don't get the joke? John Cage had that tune where the piano player just sits at the piano for 4 minutes and 33 seconds not playing anything.
Oh.
And the idea is that everything's music. So even with the piano player not playing, everything you hear is music.
Oh, love that.
So we're just doing the extended dance mix of that version.
Okay. It's going to be quirky today. It's going to be real quirky.
Oh, you should have seen when I had KTG on. Do you know KTG FTW?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
A wonderful streamer. I probably shouldn't say this live, but she won't mind. I think she was hammered when she caught on to do it.
Okay.
And it was a riot. We didn't really talk much music theory, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully you won't say that I'm hammered at the end, but you might. I'm not telling you what's in this coffee. After all, it's not even 4 o'clock yet. How's it going, people?
We have Vicky Liotta in my chat, drummer with the band Media Crime, and she's also been doing some gigs with Coincidence Machine.
Nice, Meteor Crime. That's a good name. I like that.
Yeah, they're a really good band too. I saw them
Nice.
Friday or Saturday. I went out and saw them.
Where actually are you, Jimmy?
Right here. I'm in Queens, New York.
Oh, New York, wicked.
So on the outside of New York City.
Sweet.
I'm actually right across the Queens border, but I tell people Queens because if I tell somebody, like people around the world, Nassau County, nobody's going to know what the fuck that is.
I feel like you're from California, though.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, so but if I walk 2 blocks, I'm in Queens. So
I can hear New York in your accent now that I'm listening for it. I can hear it. But it's kind of like softened compared to like it's not like a really broad New York accent. It's quite soft on what would be the New York stuff.
Oh, thank you. That's the sweetest thing you've ever said to me.
Not that we're here to analyse languages, but I'm just, I'm just letting you know because I'm an expert on it. I don't know anything. No, this is a royal lot.
Well, you're clearly English, and you said you're in the south of England, right?
Yeah, I'm down south. Yeah, my accent is quite fairly broad.
Huh. What area is that? I don't know too much of English geography.
It's basically an hour from London, so it's an hour south of London. So it's quite similar to a southeast London accent.
Is that Bournemouth?
That's further south, so just in a bit from there. So in the middle of all of that, yeah.
Because I think Andy Summers and Robert Fripp were from Bournemouth.
Oh, cool.
I think I might be wrong. Like I said, I don't really know English geography.
Oh, I'm terrible at geography. Please, let's not go down that road. I didn't even mean to say that road. You're bringing out the puns. Is that a pun? I'm not even sure that's a pun. So please, let's not do English grammar either. Okay.
You know, there's a song by Mott the Hoople called Saturday Gigs where Ian Hunter's singing about all the places they played, the towns they played clubs in when they were coming up. And I remember seeing a journalist talking about it and saying, you know, Ian came up listening to all this American music that canonized places like, Chicago and Memphis. And, he probably thought, why not canonize a place like, it was great. He pauses and goes, Croydon. And, and he said it like, who would ever talk about Croydon?
I know.
What reason would you have? I know nothing about Croydon, but I get the feeling if I go to England, I'm going to skip visiting there.
Well, let me put it like this. Croydon is like San Francisco, but without the hills.
Okay.
So trams and lots of people and not so bohemian as say San Francisco, for example. It's just yeah, exactly. So all the American songs that have all like Route 66, they just all sound so cool. Like it's you try and write about something in England, it's just gonna Swad's Bottom or whatever.
You made that one up. That's not really a town.
We'll have to. I mean, it could be. Honestly, there's some really dodgy ones. Dragon says Croydon was lovely in 1980.
1980 or 18?
1980.
Okay.
So what are we going to talk about today? What happens here then?
Well, the first thing when I've got a new guest, I like to ask is things like about yourself and your history of music. You play guitar, and clearly you play piano as well. There's one, well, you own one, let's say.
Well, actually, even this is not mine. Actually, neither of these are mine. They both belong to my son, actually, and the poor thing I've kind of stolen. Well, this one I'm just borrowing for a little while. He'll have that back. But I played piano up to like grade 5. But mainly I used to copy the teacher rather than read the notes so much. But I can read the notes, but slowly. But I would be like, just play that again for me one more time. And then I would just copy. I'd rather copy what she did. And then that was around the age 15. And then after that, I didn't really play piano much at all through my 20s or 30s even. And so I've only just in the last sort of 5 years since I've been in here, have I picked it back up again. So it's slow for me, but I really enjoy it a lot. I love it.
And when did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar when I was 13.
Oh, okay.
So a long time, but basically when I learned to play, I got a bass for my 13th birthday because I had a musical family.
Bass?
Yeah, I got a bass guitar was my first, a Marlin red bass guitar. And the reason was because one of my brothers was already a drummer. The other one was a guitarist. And so you couldn't have another guitarist, right? So you're having the bass, girl. So I got a bass and I was like, okay. So I started playing the bass, but I already at that point had been writing songs since I was 11. I was writing melodies and lyrics and singing. And so when I just picked up the guitar and it was like all I needed was like 1 chord, 2 chords, and I could make a song. So I couldn't stop playing. So I bought a guitar for $5, and essentially I just wanted to write songs. So it was a vehicle to write the songs, and it wasn't necessarily something that I was like, I didn't have like a big desire to play lead guitar, for example. I just wanted to be able to write the songs. And so yeah, I carried on. I started gigging when I was 14. I could barely play. I mean, but I was very angsty and like, so I guess there was that. And then basically just carried on. And then only really in the last, I would say 5 or 6 years have I, what did he say? Oh, Butthole Lane in Leicestershire. Okay. Only since then have I sort of been practicing lead guitar. So again, since I've been streaming. So I've been streaming for, I think, 4 or 5 years. And really that's when I've actually started like not being able to hit wrong notes and stuff. Like I've been getting better at not hitting the wrong note type thing and being able to hold some patterns. And I've learned, mate, I actually only probably know a couple of scales off by heart. But it was the relationship that between the chords and the it was like, okay, if I'm playing E minor, I can play a pentatonic scale over that. But when I started to realise that all the chords that were in the key, I could then play their kind of shapes. within that. That's kind of, so my approach to lead is kind of slightly sort of maybe skew if from where my understanding is of it.
Well,
So
that's a much more jazz way of playing.
oh
Is rock and blues players will tend to play off the key of the song, whereas jazz players will tend to look at what chord is going on at this moment, and I'll play in that sound and then the sound of the next chord.
oh nice, okay. Well, that's kind of how I'm going about it, but I guess because I've got a songwriter approach, and that's fascinating me at the moment.
You've just invented jazz.
Basically, discovered it on my own, so that's what they call it. Yeah. So what about you? What's your journey then?
Oh, well, I have heard a friend brought a recording of Jimi Hendrix Woodstock set on a field trip,
Uh-huh.
and I was just fascinated with the sound, and so I started hanging out with this guy. He started taking guitar lessons, and then both my dad and my older brother played guitar,
Okay.
but I didn't want to learn from them because that's not cool.
Right.
Yeah. So I started, he started showing me some of what he was learning his lessons, some stuff I figured out on my own. And then when I got to be in 11th grade, I was actually able to take proper lessons with an actual teacher.
And what's 11th grade? How old is that?
Oh, 15, 16.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's right. You don't have that system in England. You probably have an education system that works.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what can I say? The education system. I mean, music is way down on the list where it should be much higher. It's very frustrating. It's sometimes working within a system like that and the way it's kind of, But let's not get into that.
Yeah, it's gotten better over here. Like, they have a thing called NISMA that stands for New York State Music something or other.
Okay.
But when I was in school, you couldn't participate in it as a guitarist. They didn't even recognize guitar
Right.
as an instrument. And I've heard nowadays you can play classical or jazz guitar.
Oh,
in
brilliant.
NISMA. So,
That's an improvement then.
yeah.
Still not allowed any rockers or metal. I mean, metal is like, there's so much technique involved,
And a certain amount of theory, because there's a lot of metal where they're using various scales,
Right.
Aeolian, harmonic minor, those kind of
Yeah.
things. So
Why not include it?
yeah, and people, okay, so I'm gonna vent on something.
Go on then.
Sometimes people get this attitude about genres of music being superior or inferior.
I hate that shit.
But
Sorry.
I'd rather listen to a great metal band than a shitty jazz band.
Okay.
Like, it has.
Exactly.
You could be playing any style and be great at it, or
Right.
suck at it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly that. Yeah. I'm not really, that sort of snobbery can be really off-putting, can't it? It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I'm saying that, but I'm sure I do actually get a little bit snobby about things sometimes. But I feel like teaching helped me to shake that a little bit. Because I think, when you have all different students and they're bringing you all different music, that's quite sort of, it changes, it opens you up and it changes how you are about things. You can't be so dismissive of things, But
I had a similar experience because some students would bring in stuff and I got to teach them how to play it.
right.
And they just love this thing. So I'll point out, oh, do this and this, and oh, this is really clever that they did this, and this is this neat thing they did here. Meanwhile, I don't even like the song.
Yeah.
But, I got to find what's great about it to
Right.
keep this person excited. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good thing, actually. That is one of the loveliest things about teaching, isn't it? I do really enjoy teaching. I've not been doing it lately, but I'm trying to sort of build it back up again now. I've had to put it down the last couple of years. But it's great. I mean, it is a really good thing to do.
How did you get into teaching? I didn't know that you were teaching.
I got into teaching just before I started streaming. So it must have been about 2016, 2017. So that was kind of like, I was gigging and, doing music in that way. It's always been sort of gigging and performing. But this I'm actually through a good friend of mine that I've had for about a decade now, and she was a music teacher, and she was like, oh, you should think about it. And I was like, oh, like, okay, like, and then I did an open mic night, and I found that running this open mic night, I found that basically being in that space with people just before they're about to perform, I really enjoyed it, and I always felt like it was somewhere I could really be with people and help them. And I actually got my first students from that open mic night. And then, so I started teaching from there, and it was kind of like cobbled together because I didn't really even have the space at the time. I was essentially teaching, had to walk through like a bedroom to get to this other room, like totally not what I would do now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but it was just kind of like cobbled together at the beginning because of where we were living. And then basically, just built it up over time. And then I went and took some training because I had quite a traumatic sort of like a lot of grief in my younger years. It kind of, I went to music college, for example, in a different city. I didn't finish it. Because I moved there with my brothers, and one of my brothers, actually, we were in a band. One of them died, sadly. And so because that happened, it spun me off, and I never finished college. So I then didn't do any education or anything for the rest of my adult life. And it's only actually been in the last sort of, again, 6-7 years where I've like been able to piece my brain together enough to be able to be like, right, I'm going to be able to learn now, because it had completely thrown me off like the path that I was on. So I went to the School of Life instead. I've never said that before, but it is true. That's what happened. And then anyway, so I did like a certificate, a level 3 in music training, like training and education for music, and so I could begin to sort of do group work. But to be honest with you, I've done a fair bit, but not loads. And it is something I want to do, but I want to go into like workshops more and retreat kind of stuff, like healing music and more creative somehow, rather than, I still want to do the one-to-one lessons as well, but in group work wise, I've got kind of like ideas that have been brewing for years now that might come to. I really enjoy it alongside, being in a band and stuff,
You're in a band? Because the performances I've seen of you have always been you being solo.
Well, I do have a band. I've got a band of obviously my other half, Dragon, and playing cajon, and then I've got a bass player. We've got a bass player called Rob. And so, but again, before the pandemic, life was very different. I mean, I was, I was doing so much, and in a way I've been, obviously then streaming came in, and that's a lot on its own. That's a lot to learn, a lot of technology to learn, and all of this other stuff. So obviously spent my time learning to do that and teaching on Zoom and all of that during the pandemic. And it's taken me a while actually to kind of get the band up and running again. The landscape is so different out there. The venues have changed. It's been really hard. I'm not going to lie. I've really found it painful and difficult. And at times just like, should I still be doing this? Like it felt so fucking hard. But I'm slowly building it back up now. And so we do have a band, and we're mainly focusing on that, hopefully with a piano player, on original stuff only. And then I play covers for money, solo or just with my other half on the cajon. It's just more cost effective, Your
other half, I thought he was your other third. I thought you were 2/3 and he was a third.
A third of what, the band?
of this thing that you keep referring to as halves. I did
do you not say that, like, when you're married, do you not call each other your other half? Do you not do that?
They do, yeah. I'm just making a joke.
I knew it. I knew he was making another joke. Norplad, welcome in. Thank you for the follow.
Oh, which, by the way, anybody who's here, if you want, a thing that can be nice to do is call up Clea's stream as well, so that we both get, the viewer count. And if you're not following Clea Rose, then you're kind of an idiot, right?
Oh, and likewise, if everyone watching my stream can do the same back as well, I'd appreciate that. To go over to Coincidence Machine, because that is, it's a good reason why we do these collaborations.
Yeah. So, now you said you just started playing lead guitar, but I've heard you play lead guitar. You're pretty badass.
Well, thank you very much. I have this kind of like, sometimes you can watch yourself back and then you get an updated version of like, oh, that's how I sound now. I kind of had one of those the other day, because a lot of the times if I'm not watching back, I'm just in there doing the work of like trying to kind of get better. And also I'm not really playing lead guitar at performances at the moment, because again, I'm not working with a band. So that part is hard to integrate, which is the part I'm trying to integrate. So that's kind of frustrating, because a lot of time I'm working on it on my own in here and not necessarily in a band format. So I just don't necessarily know where I've got to with it. And I'm just busy kind of doing the work of like trying to, and also I keep having this 1 step forward, 2 step back with the lead guitar. So when I started about, let's say it was like 4 or 5 years ago, I could play a little bit before that, but I would always do a wrong note within about, 2 minutes. I'd definitely be, or a minute, I'd do a wrong note. I just couldn't hold any of the patterns.
A wrong note or an intentional dissonance?
Well, now I can do that. I can like, oh, I meant to do that. But then it was just like, oh, I'm completely lost. And then I would be like fumbling around. So I was using a Line 6 pod, which is actually, again, belongs to my husband. It belongs to Dragon. So I had that with this pedal on the floor that had the switches on it and a wah-wah pedal. So I was using that for a couple of years. And then that got put away when we moved 2 years ago. So now obviously we've got into this room, and I didn't have that to use. So I borrowed a blues driver and a small wah-wah pedal. So that was cool. And then that got taken back. So currently I don't have a pedal, but I've just bought the full version of Logic. So now I'm using the sounds on there. So I'm only just getting into, I would say, really learning how to build a pedal board, or like combining effects, and what do I like the sound of, what am I looking for, and that feels like this whole new exciting like world of like, that's the whole point of what the lead guitar is really about. And I completely somehow hadn't, like, even though I knew it and I'd heard it, I hadn't really pieced that together in my mind for myself of like, this is what it's all about, and that is actually part of the instrument. So I'm looking forward to that. That's the journey that I'm on now, basically, is developing a sound for myself, I would say.
First of all, thanks to everybody for the follows. I guess a bunch of Norplad, Justin, and Lulu followed me. I'm thinking those are people...
Actually, and a couple of those
fans.
were new over at mine as well. Lulu is a dear friend of mine, but the other guys are quite new. So thank you for that. Thanks, Norplad, because I just got a follow as well.
And if you have any questions, post them in either or both of our chats. Any questions about definitely anything music theory related, but even non-music theory related, we can answer. I have this one student, and it's funny. She was asking me about effects pedals, and I don't know whether you've ever seen on the CoincidenceMachine stream, but I have like basically this space station for a board, like with a massive amount of things.
Oh, nice.
I think it's so much fun that you can make the guitar sound so many different ways with these things. So this one student of mine was asking me about them, and what we've been doing is each lesson I bring a different pedal down, and she gets to try it out and find out, oh, that's what a phase shifter sounds like. That's what a chorus pedal does. And it feels weird to me, because is this really a lesson? But I guess that is part of learning guitar, is understanding how those things work. Yeah.
That's actually very, a rare thing, that you would get someone to explain these things and break them down for you like that. So it's very empowering for a student, for anyone learning guitar, to find out those things. I'm basically finding out pretty much by just exploring. And of course, I've come from a musical family, so I can't say I'm completely ignorant of that stuff. I've heard this kind of language and heard them talking about effects and whatever when I was younger. So they're not like alien words to me. But actually the proper effect of what they do is something that I'm sort of like, well, I don't totally know, and I'm just listening to figure out what it does, and then again what it does when you add in that then or that, and oh, is that good? No, that's not good. We have to take that one out or turn it down, and da da da. All the sort of parameters sort of like moving. It's really fun.
I remember sitting at one point with, okay, put the wah wah pedal before the distortion. Now put the wah wah after the distortion. Now go back again and go back again to figure out which was the way that sounded best.
What was the answer?
I think I have the wah wah before the distortion.
Nice.
Because if you do it the other way, it changes the quality, and some people might prefer that quality.
Uh-huh.
But you don't know until you try these things out.
Right.
It's like the I don't you know Alan Watts. He was like this kind of spiritualist dude. He had a philosophical thing that he said where he said that if you explain to somebody what a strawberry tastes like, and you tell them everything about how the strawberry tastes, they still don't know what a strawberry tastes like until they actually eat a strawberry.
Right.
So I think with the stuff we're talking about here, like,
Yeah.
you could tell me what a flanger is, and I still don't know what it sounds like until
Exactly.
I play through a flanger. And I don't know what I sound like through a flanger until I play through one.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Custom Blink is back! I was worried about you again. Custom Blink was away for a while. And Bonus Creature, yes. A finger pointing at the moon, that's my favorite guitar effect.
What actually is your favorite guitar effect?
Oh, well, okay, so let me answer that in two ways, but then I'm going to ask you to answer the same question. There are
Okay.
some that are essential, like to me, I can't play guitar without having a distortion or overdrive of some kind
Okay.
that I can go to. The delay is another effect that I feel is like fairly essential. But one of the ones that I think is the most fun is the whammy pedal.
Whammy pedal? Is that like a whammy bar but in pedal form?
In a sense, because Digitech makes it, and you do have there's different settings on it. One is where you can make it move the note up an octave. So you can
Okay.
play like a note and push the pedal and it'll sweep it up an octave.
Ooh.
But sometimes I'll just leave it at the high octave and it gives it almost a guitar synthesizer kind of sound.
Okay.
You can make it drop an octave. Okay, I'm going to vent on something again. Why do people phone
Who's ringing
call
you?
me? Yeah, people who know me know that you text me and then we talk about stuff that way.
That's so rude, calling you in the middle of the day as well. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, over here it's almost 11:30. People
Yeah.
might be trying to sleep.
Yep. That's early.
Yeah. So, two other functions I really love in the whammy pedal is you can have like an octave added, where you're getting the note you're playing and the octave above or below it, which just makes it sound really thick. And then there's the fifth function, where it gives you the note you got in the fifth above it,
Okay.
which also has that kind of rolling guitar synth effect.
But it's not an octaver. It's different to that.
It has that in it, but it has all these other things.
Okay. I'm gonna have to try it out. I might have one on there. I might have a digital one on there I can try.
I think it's a blast. I think it's a really fun sound, and it's one of those sounds where sometimes, depending on how you use it, it can make the guitar sound like you're not even playing a guitar.
Okay. That sounds really good. So you can really get lost in the sound.
Yeah. And when I've been in groups where I was the ancillary guitar player, I guess you could say, there was a band called Erratic Sculpture I was in the 90s, where the band leader, the singer-songwriter, played rhythm guitar. And my job in that band was to add guitar sounds on top of his chords.
Yeah.
So not sounding like a guitar was a great way of creating
Right.
a difference between what I was doing and what he was doing.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really fun. I think I'd enjoy that job.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Unfortunately, me and the drummer joined that band together. We'd been hanging out, and then when the bass player quit, we got a friend of the drummer's to play bass. And part of the problem was the three of us were incredibly immature at the time.
Uh-huh.
And that led to kind of the band falling apart. And looking back on it, yeah, we were kind of assholes and probably could have behaved a lot better.
It's the truth a lot of the time, isn't it? You know, it's good we don't paint ourselves as angels because we're not, and that's this is no one's fault, is it? It's just what happens. Bands are hard. Bands are really hard work. People, yeah, they're hard work.
Yeah, there's this group I joined recently, and the singer is a riot, and it's one of those things where, regardless of how I feel about the music, I can hang out with this guy. That's already going to make it a lot easier.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really important, I think. I mean, we hear about it all the time, don't we? With sort of like really famous bands and how they sort of have these massive rows and arguments, but they're like family, If
some of them, like the Pink Floyd, I feel like you guys are in your 70s and you're still behaving like grade school kids when it comes to the band stuff. Like,
yeah,
haven't you learned something? But I guess that's the thing with bands is that, Andy Summers, I saw an interview with him. He talked about when the Police did that reunion tour. And he said, he says, yeah, after all the years that we've been apart and how much we've matured, you think that we would, be at a stage where we could, work together. But no, all of the old arguments all started surfacing again.
Same shit, different day, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
some things people just can't move past some things. I think there's that, and I also think that it's a pros and cons of being a creative because we're quite childlike creative people and maintain, I think, this playfulness, this a childlike quality, which it can be really lovely, but it also can be again difficult.
Yeah. If you've ever dealt with children, yeah, they can be wonderful and they can be very difficult, and often at the same time.
And that's me.
So Custom Blink was saying some kind of distortion is useful for shaping the sound. Reverb, I'm so used to having reverb on my amps. My dad had this custom amp with the padding, from the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
That was not as tall as me, but pretty tall.
Yeah.
And it had reverb built in on it. So I just got so used to the reverb sound. I don't think I could play without reverb.
Oh, absolutely not. That's the bare minimum is like, yeah, a little bit of reverb, please. And then we can carry on. Because sometimes you go to venues and that's literally all they have anyway. And you're like, well, definitely give me some of that,
Yeah.
It's like, there are definitely gigs I'm doing because I'm only working with that electric guitar that I've got at the moment. There have been a few gigs lately. It has an acoustic pickup and an electric pickup, so I can do a little bit on my own just as a solo for getting a sound, but it's nowhere near like a good sound to my mind and probably to anyone that knows. And so, yeah, I need a little bit of reverb. I don't have an amp for... Well, I'm using a Roland Cube. I always say that. I'm using a Roland Cube as an amp, which is all right, but it's not like known to be like an amazing guitar amp or anything.
Yeah. The Roland dodecahedron is much better. You see, you didn't fall for that one.
No, I'll get to know now.
Oh, hey, Poke Your Eyes Out is here. Yeah, that's what my dad told me about the reverb on the custom amp. He said, you can use the reverb, but don't use it to try to make up for the fact that you don't sound good to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't work.
Which is one of the things about playing acoustic guitar, just acoustic guitar, not through anything, is that you're exposed. This is what I sound like. Yeah.
Right. It is fantastic, actually, for, getting your chords to ring out well and all of that kind of that stuff. Because like with playing chords and things like that, that's what I've paid obviously more attention to, like 20 years or something, playing chords and trying to get them to ring out and sound nice and everything. And then it's like the detailing that when you get into sort of playing lead guitar and the individual notes, the detailing is more like singing for me. So it's like what I've applied to my learning with singing, I can... Not exactly the same, but I understand the amount of detailing that's possible in that sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going to take years.
Being a singer helps you play lead guitar because some guitarists who don't sing I'm trying to think of a polite way to say it. It's kind of like it becomes very about the notes and not about the sound, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm.
And I'd imagine as a singer, you're thinking more of how am I shaping this melody rather than what notes am I playing on what chord.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think I've like not really been like I haven't written proper lead guitar lines. Maybe if I have, I've only written like a couple of things so far that are like on a record, as it were.
Huh.
So
But you've written a lot of improper ones.
Oh, I've written a lot of improper improv ones, yeah, just like throwaway kind of like. So I'm only just now like listening to that kind of like, how am I gonna layer this into my song, for example? How am I what would the lead guitar sound like? How does it fit around the melody? Where does it copy the melody? Where does it find a space between? Where is it needed? How does it lift up the chorus? What does it do? And like the function of that lead guitar. So I'm thinking about it really deeply at the moment, and sort of when I'm listening to music, I'm also listening to it in that way, like with different ears than I had before, because I wasn't trying to write a lead guitar line before, or I might sit and appreciate some lead guitar, but I wasn't thinking how I would do it or anything. And I'm not, again, my approach is sort of different than it would be as a lead guitarist who really had a passion and wanted to learn lead guitar solos. I'm not coming with that passion, which is weird. It is weird because in a way it's like, well, why am I learning it then? But it's sort of it's been something that I've been playing guitar so long that it feels like weird not to at least try, for one. For two, I can't afford a guitarist. For three, it's like, as from the songwriting perspective, I'm very interested in all the lines now from the different instruments, which wasn't before. I was just like writing the chords and playing the melody, singing the melody. So now I've got all these other things to consider. And I think it does help, to answer your question. I think it does help that I'm a singer, but I think that it might take me a little. I think it will help just because of the way that I consider phrasing and stuff like that, I suppose. The musicality of it, I suppose.
Yes, and plus the thing that you said, which reminds me of, there's a jazz saxophonist, Tim Byrne, who I'm a big fan of, and he did a talk at the New School that I wasn't at, but a friend of mine was at. Oh, thank you, Gary. And apparently he said, like, people were asked, of course, because it's jazz, which is mostly about soloing, and people were asking him all about soloing, and my friend Dave said that Tim at one point said, look, it's not just about my solo. A solo fits in a song in a certain place and goes between one section and another section. So he said, when I'm taking a solo, I'm thinking, where did we come from and where are we going to? Right. And what do I have to play in this spot to make it work there? And I think that's what you're describing. I think not just soloing, but any of the instruments, it's good to think about those things. Some drummers, they'll just kind of, here's a beat for this song. But do you know that song, She's Not There, from the Zombies? You ever listen to the drums in that? The guy is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
In what he plays on that to me just totally makes that song.
Right.
And it's not that he's being showy or soloistic, it's just that we have to play this part here and then this part for the pre-chorus and then the chorus we're going to do this, and it just brings out the flavor of those sections of the tune.
The beat is so important. I felt quite embarrassed at how ignorant I was of that. It's only when I started working in here that I was like, wow, the beat is so important. It's really crucial, because you can choose something and it's just like, it just doesn't work or it doesn't fit or whatever else. It's just like, it really changes the flavour of the whole of what's on top. It's astonishing, actually. It's still blowing my mind, that bit, and I haven't figured out what I want the beats to be yet on my songs, because I can understand this, beat makers out there, that because they call now as well, like making a beat, or it's like they call it like the whole song, making a beat. I've been asking people about this. Like it's not a drum beat, like they refer into the whole track, the whole song, but it's got no lyrics or whatever, no melody on top, but they'll call that a beat. Am I right? Maybe I'm talking up my ass. Don't worry.
Well,
Moving
that
on.
it's something I've always said. I think that rhythm is the most important aspect of music because you can have music where you've got drums with rhythm but with no notes or chords.
Right.
But you can't have notes and chords without a rhythm.
Can you not?
Well, even if you were playing something rubato, there would still be an implied rhythm there, I think.
What about if we're not playing in time at all? Free jazz?
Well, the Ornette Coleman free jazz definitely had a rhythm.
Okay.
Some of that more avant-garde stuff that came afterwards, like Albert Eiler and them, yeah, and that's actually it's an interesting thing because there's not as strong of a sense of a pulse, maybe, but I think we still get the sense of rhythm.
Right, okay.
Like some of the more rubato, impressionistic classical stuff, they're bending the rhythm so that there's not a pulse, but we're still getting a feel for rhythm.
So rhythm is the most crucial.
That would be my contention. Yeah.
Okay, if we take it back to like the beginning where it's like all we had was the rhythm, the heartbeat, the drum, and the voice, that's the beginnings, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
So the voice can even the voice, I wasn't really thinking about rhythm, and timing has always been my weakest point, right? Before, again, I'm improving that all the time in here. But I think that with the voice, I'm thinking about the melody more as a rhythm than ever. Like we were saying before about the different components that make up playing. There's a lot of different things that you have to think about when you're playing music or when you're playing the guitar or whatever. And with the singing, the same thing. Your pitch, your support, your breath
what
control.
What you're gonna have for lunch.
Hopefully what you didn't have for lunch, so you're not burping and trying to sing at the same time. All of that stuff's going on. Do you know what I mean? But when you just break it down to the rhythm, so I could be playing around with the timing a bit, whereas now I'm trying to be a bit more disciplined with that so that my actual melody line is hitting where it's supposed to hit. Yeah, it is important.
And those shadings can definitely create different feels too. I know there's a guy, Jan Garbarek, Norwegian saxophonist, who I remember hearing him do this trick where he would kind of resolve to the chord like 1, 2, or 3 beats before the chord showed up, and then hold the note while the chord resolved to him, which is such a different feel than playing a line that resolves into the chord.
Right.
Oh, Lusty Bard's here, but by the way, besides following Clea Rose music, which I insist on, you've got to follow Clea if you're here, otherwise you're going to get booted. But follow some of the other wonderful streamers we have here. Poke Your Eyes Out Music, Lusty Bard, Custom Blink. Somebody else was here that I forgot. I think all of us as streamers do this thing. Oh, Bonus Creature. Yes, follow Bonus Creature.
Bonus
Don't take
Creature.
that personally, because do you get the thing where you stream so much that you start talking to people who, they're not in this stream, they were in last week's stream, but you can't create a difference in your mind between today and,
it all starts blurring, and it really does.
So, what are some of your favorite effects?
Well, I really like the wah-wah pedal so far. I mean, I feel like I really want to spend some ages playing with the wah-wah. I just set up a virtual pedal board on Logic yesterday, which was really fun. You can drag the pedals in. What else do I really love? Obviously, I really love reverb, but I super, super love delay because I really love dub sounding stuff. And also I really love stuff like Osric Tentacles, that kind of vibe. So but the guitar sounds that I'm really trying to look for would be sort of something like Kruang Bin. I don't know if you've heard them, but they're quite a new band actually, Kruang Bin, I think. But they're sort of again, it's floaty, sort of chill, heavy on the bass, but the guitar is more sort of, I really love funk and where the guitar is sparse. And sort of the bass is the heaviest thing in the mix kind of thing. So I'm trying to get a really dubby sound with guitar always, I would say. So delay is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to do that thing where they would have the delay set for like the quarter note triplet. So you'd
Okay.
hear the delay and it would rhythmically be related to the music, but
Yeah.
in a polyrhythmic kind of way.
I love that sort of thing.
Hmm.
I overuse it a lot. The last few years I've overused it a lot.
I think this happens with effects and with concepts, is
Mhm.
that, like when I'd first learned about polyrhythms and quarter note triplets, that was what I put in every single break I played. It was like the new toy, and
Right.
then you like basically overuse it, and then after a while it just becomes a part of your vocabulary,
Right.
and now you use it without even thinking that you're going to use it. It just kind of happens. But I think we have to go through that stage of overusing the new thing.
I think so as well. It's just part of the process, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's a thing that's nice about Twitch because for me, it gives me the option to keep exploring these new things.
Yeah.
But for the audiences, I think it's nice to watch streamers and see how they're developing.
Right. Yeah, the most beautiful thing about streaming and being on, especially on this platform, which is very comfortable on. Yeah, is that, because it took me a while to get used to that, because it's almost like the processes that would be unseen, right? It's this creative process
Yeah.
that is our own way of working that normally we didn't share with anyone. And for me, it took me a while, like, oh, are you sure that you find this interesting? And also, are you sure I'm not just like, do you know what I mean? It was the lengthy process it can be sometimes, and yet still they stick with you. So
Yeah, it took me a while to get used to the whole not treating every stream as a performance.
right.
Where you could do something and get it wrong and fix it, or try something that you can't do.
Yeah.
And discovering that people like to see that, especially I'm finding for non-musicians, like
Right.
they get to see because usually, you buy an album or you go to a concert, you're seeing the finished product.
Mm.
You don't see what went into that. So I think it's probably fascinating for people to see, oh, I see how this person has built up this skill or that thing, or how this song came about.
Yeah. You're getting behind the
You even,
scenes.
yeah, you even do the thing where you've done writing on stream.
That's really intense, I have to say. I have done that quite a bit, but it is one of the harder streams to do. I think partly because I'm a parent as well, so the time that I get in here is the time that I get in here, and it's not anywhere near what I would like it to be at the moment. I would like it to be more time, right? And partly that's just life and whatever else it is, but so whatever the work is what the work is, and sometimes there's a battle of what the work is. Right now I'm thinking, I want to learn this RC30 looper, and I've got it out on the table in there because I might take that to a gig, and that is more to do with my cover work, getting developing that. And then I've got obviously my album that I'm working on, and really I just want to be in here spending time on that as much as possible. So and if I can stream at the same time, amazing. I get to hang out with people. I might get a little bit of support for that, might get a little bit of financial support, which really helps, because it's a lot of time you need to spend on it, and you don't know what it's going to turn into. But yeah, the songwriting, I started that in not this September, but the one before. So actually before that, I was doing a lot of improv for a few years. I didn't actually necessarily sit down and write a song, and I had tried a few months before that, and I was like, no, this ain't working, I can't do this. Just I was getting irritated with chat, I was getting wound up with them because they're giving me suggestions. I'm like, I don't want a suggestion right now, but I don't know how to tell you that I don't want a suggestion. I'm trying to find the answers myself, and you're along for the ride. And if you actually want help, then you can directly say, oh, actually, can you, what do you think about this or something? Writing with chat is a different thing, and I would be up for that. It's that's a different process. But if you're writing your own song, that's quite personal, and it can be hard doing that process in front of people. But now I have, and luckily I had a few friends, for example Croker, who's now streaming himself, but he's a really good friend. He actually came and joined my stream around that time, and it's really nice because I can always remember back to that. He was, the people that were there during those songs have a different connection to them because they saw them be created and be written. So it's quite beautiful. It's quite a sort of really special thing that you can share with essentially people on the internet, strangers. You know, it's unusual.
It is. That's another weird thing about Twitch because there's people who I've met in chat, not just in my stream, but then I run into them in other people's streams, and they become kind of friends that I feel closer to than people I know in real life, and yet I've never even seen these people.
I
I have no
know.
idea what they look like.
It's weird, isn't it? It is very
Yeah.
weird.
I have a theory that I think some of them aren't even different people. It's the same person with like five different names.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
Like
honestly think that sometimes, honestly.
we've got 1,600 followers, but really we only have like 800 followers because some of them are all the same
They're all
people.
doubling up.
Yeah, it is kind of intriguing, Bard. Lusty Bard saying about watching like the writing streams like you do. Um, Even like there's streamers that do live learns,
Yeah,
uh, which again I think a lot of people who either aren't musicians or maybe aren't musicians that do that kind of thing probably
right.
find fascinating.
Yeah. I found that so weird at first. That's what I'm saying. 'Cause again, but that would be a process that was hidden. And
Yeah.
you would go through your mistakes, you would go through all of the different things that you had to do in order to learn it, and that would all be hidden. And then la da da, here it is, and you present it. So that took a lot of kind of undoing in my head to be able to like share that process with people. And yeah, I've done some live learns. I don't do them all the time. Every now and again, and then it's like I'm not always in the mood for that kind of work. But when I am, it's really fun to do. And especially I love watching what's her name, Kimari Sky. Actually, she's done some really, watching her do a live learn, and it's like watching something go through the musician's brain, through them, and then and then it comes out and it's like completely different, a completely different sort of song. And it's quite an amazing process watching it sort of filter through somebody and come out the other side. Do you know what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
Like not when it's like a direct live learn, but it's a live learn, but you're kind of sketching it, an impression of it.
Yeah, because well, and to me, I don't like in my area. There's a lot of cover groups who basically try to imitate the album, and I never liked that because, well, I
Same.
could just make a playlist and listen to the album. I
Please,
don't need to hear
exactly.
you so let me hear the way you play the
Right.
song. So that's like a different process of, okay, I'm taking the concept of this song, and now how do we make that?
Yeah.
How do I sound playing this song? How do we exist within this song? Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
and it probably is a thing that for again for people who aren't as familiar with those things, watching people like us, push through that kind of stuff is one thing, probably educational, but also probably inspiring because, as you're saying, when you see the la-di-da, it's done thing,
Yeah.
I think sometimes, at least I know students are like that, where they think that, oh, you guys must be geniuses, where you just grab your instrument and you play so amazingly, and they don't see that the struggle they're going through is the same struggle we've gone through.
Exactly.
The opposite of my Bob Dylan song. Custom Blink is one of those people who just can be a real pain in the ass in chat. And that's wonderful.
What are they saying to you?
There's a song. Actually, I'm not sure which one you're talking about. We have a few songs in the Coincidence. So my dad was a big fan of Bob Dylan, so I've been hearing Bob Dylan since I was born.
Nice.
And so it comes out in the songs, and there's a few songs of ours that I introduced by jokingly saying, "Here's a Bob Dylan song that I wrote." Yeah, in fact, I think I've written like 3, Blink.
It does happen, doesn't it? It's your influences, they come through. You can't help it.
Yeah.
You know.
In fact, there's one, it might be the one you're thinking of. It was a solo stream I did, and I played that song, this one. It's called Strength and Pride. Morgan Grace covers it, too. But this one guy that I knew heard it and really liked it. So he put some of the lyrics and Bob Dylan in a Google search to find out which Bob Dylan song it was. And then he asked me the next time he saw me, he says, "What song was that? I couldn't find it when I was looking for it." And it's like, "Oh, because that's not a Bob Dylan song."
Wow, that's a real compliment. I think that's amazing.
That's why when people say they do original music, I sometimes say, "Well, I think we actually do derivative music."
Yeah. We are, we're songwriters are magpies. I mean, we literally are little thieves, and it's just how we are. Sorry.
Well, Igor Stravinsky, I think it was, who had a great quote. He said, "Good composers borrow, but great composers steal."
It's just how it is, isn't it? Just blatantly, But I do find it interesting how that can happen to you, though, as well. Like, it happened to me the other day just for, like, that thing of, like, something filtering through you sound-wise, where I'd put on Jimi Hendrix and I was, like, really listening to Jimi Hendrix. And then the next stream that I started playing, and because I'd been listening to Jimmy, it was, like, more like that in my approach. Nowhere near what he does, but it was more like that. And somebody in chat was like, "Oh, you've been listening to Jimi Hendrix and da da da." I was just like, it's crazy because you can hear the influence immediately.
And that's a funny thing, because to me, I find that a compliment when somebody says, "Oh, I can tell you listen to Maceo Parker," or whoever it is.
Definitely.
Some people get bent, like you're telling them that they don't have a personality or they're not original. But like I agree with what you said, that your influences are gonna be there.
Yeah.
This person isn't saying you're a Jimi Hendrix clone. They're saying, "Oh, I can hear
totally
the Jimi Hendrix thing you're playing today." Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be all upset if I got upset about things like that, because I mean, when you're out gigging and everything, people say it all the time, don't they? And they've only got a few references a lot of the time in their head. So, for me, like singing wise, it'll be Amy Winehouse or occasionally someone else, but mainly just Amy Winehouse. And it's like, we're from a similar area. I'm actually slightly older than Amy Winehouse anyway, so I definitely sounded like her before I heard her, if you know what I'm saying. Because we're from a similar area, we like similar music in terms of that. So then naturally we're going to sound a bit similar, if you know what I mean.
That's another thing that happens too, where I've noticed even in famous people, where you'll hear, "Oh, this person was influenced by them," and then you find out, no, it's just they were both influenced by the same people.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard any Amy Winehouse, so I wouldn't be able to compare you to her. So.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Since, to a large degree, since I started teaching, I've always relied on my students to keep me abreast of what's going on.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that. I do the same thing.
But now I mostly teach a lot of people in these Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods.
Okay.
So I hear a lot of these new Jewish pop artists.
Oh, right.
But I'm not hearing any of the mainstream popular stuff.
Wow.
So there's big swaths of popular music that I'm just completely oblivious to.
Oh, but me too, and always. It's hard to keep up with it all, I think. And I think I struggle with that sometimes, because there's, when you're creating or you're making music or you're practicing, you can't use your ears to go and listen. So there's a lot of time where you're doing that. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, "Oh, have you heard this? Or have you did it?" It's like, "No, I haven't, because I'm trying to like do this." And then there's other times where I'm suddenly like completely, I have time and I can just like sit and like catch up on a load of different sounds and loads of different music. But yeah, it's a bit of a battle, that one.
Between you and me, something that I sometimes have this guilt about is, it's exactly like you said, like as a musician, when I'm practicing, I'm using my ears, when I'm writing, when I'm recording, when I'm teaching. So I end up not getting to hear a lot of the Twitch streamers that I like as much as I'd like to. And then sometimes I feel bad, like I'm streaming on Twitch and hoping people come and listen to me, but at the same time, I don't get to listen to other people as much.
But we're all the same. All of our streamers feel exactly the same like that. Honestly, I've heard so many of us say it, the same thing. We all feel like terrible about it, but we should all know we're exactly the same. So there's nothing to worry about. We'll catch a bit when we catch a bit. I think it's fine.
Because yeah, there's times when I've been, you may even notice this. I'm on your stream and I'm there for like 45 minutes, but then I have to bounce
Yeah,
off
but
because
45 minutes
I got to
is
teach at
loads.
like.
That's amazing, so I think that's really great. I mean, honestly, I really struggle with it. There's also, when I first started Twitch, I was on there a lot more listening, but then I would be staying up till like 2-3 in the morning, and I was just like, oh my god. But that was during pandemic, so you kind of were living a skew-if life anyway. So I used to listen and spend more time in streams at that point, whereas now things are a lot busier and it's harder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's same with me in that when during the pandemic I wasn't teaching as much because of the quarantine,
Right.
and the teaching I was doing was all online on Zoom, so I wasn't driving anywhere. So same
Right.
kind of thing. I had like, all of this discretionary time suddenly. It was like, wow, like I don't know why they don't create a world where we can just work like 15, maybe 20 hours a week tops and leave it at that,
I mean, there's a lot of other things to do.
Yeah.
In all honestly, I mean, most of the people I know that are working, full time and all of this stuff, there's not enough time. There really isn't, and that's the truth of it. We've known it for ages. I mean, you've got so much else you're supposed to manage, you know.
Yeah, and you're talking about full time, like a 40-hour week, right?
Yeah, people I know, and even if they're self-employed, still, it's like, it's there's a lot of life to manage for people, I think, at the moment. And I think that the fact of, like, obviously having the internet is amazing, but for a lot of us, it does mean that we have messaging on all different platforms. I find it all it can be a little bit too much sometimes. It's just
Yeah.
too much.
And I know some people, like my brother will work 50, 60-hour weeks, and I don't know how you could do that. Like, you don't have time to live if you're doing working that much.
Yeah, I just feel like I've gotten this kind of slower pace since 2020, and I've been very, very reticent and reluctant to speed it up too much, because I did burn out a few times before 2020, like twice, significant, like burnout. Like, I can't function, I'm depressed, I can't. And it's just too much. I don't want to go back to that. And so I'm very strict now about how much I take on, when I take it on, what's around it. I measure things more in energy now than, because you can go and spend energy and you do something and you may not have like charged the correct amount. You can be underpaid and then it messes up the next day. You have to be really, really careful with your energy. That's what I think.
I agree, and I think. Oh, by the way, 32-bit. I'd heard that attributed to Laurie Anderson and Frank Zappa. I don't know who originally said it. Do you know that quote? Talking about music is like dancing about architecture.
No, I've not heard that, but I like that.
And Custom Blink is hysterical in chat. This is a good reason that wish I had your chat up, but I don't know how to do that and be able to see them both. But sometimes the chat is better than the music in a Coincidence Machine stream.
I could say that in my own stream as well, for sure, when they get going.
But the energy thing, this is one reason why like there's new social medias, there's TikTok, and some of them I don't do because I don't feel like I have the energy to spread myself over five different platforms. I know there are people who take their Twitch streams and upload them to YouTube and then, restream them somewhere else, like on TikTok, and I'm just like, I can't do that. I'm not going to enjoy that. I'm going to spend so much time sharing this content that I won't feel like I have the energy to be in the content.
Uh-huh. I think it's... Yeah, go on. I think it's... I think we all will have to decide that for ourselves, basically, as creators, as creatives.
Which is a drag, because I really want to decide it for other people.
But other people, if it's right for them, it's right for them. But if it's not right for you, I don't want to go on TikTok. I still haven't gone on TikTok either, and...
Oh, good for you. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say good for you. I feel some solidarity with you, because when TikTok, everybody was telling me about it, it's like, I just can't. I just don't have...
Listen, it's a dangerous place out there, and we all know it. And the internet is very funny, and all of that. It's also very toxic, and we are literally getting our dopamine hacked, and we are getting our brains fucked. So no, I'm not on TikTok.
Somebody should clip that. That was brilliant.
It's the truth. We know it's happening, and it's happening to all of us that use these devices. And you know, it's just, it is what it is, you know. And it's a dangerous game. It's all a dangerous game to me, and I'm trying to protect my brain as much as possible, and not to say that I'm not affected by it, because I am. You know, it's a problem. I've got children, so I know it's a problem, because this technology is only it's less than 20 years old, what we're using, and it's speeding up all the time, and we're giving it to children. I don't agree with it. And that's that.
Yeah, I have some students who their parents limit their screen time, and of course the kids are bent about it, but I kind of understand it. And it reminds me of what someone was saying about GMO stuff, that they're basically saying that GMO's been around as long as there's been agriculture, but the thing is when they had to like take 2 strains of corn and try to interbreed them, it took like a decade to like build it into its next thing. And now they can in a lab make something that's out next week. The environment and our biology doesn't have time to adjust to it.
No.
And I think this is like what you're saying, the technology is only 20 years old. You know, that the society and the individual people aren't able to adjust to what life, how things are changing with this technology.
Yeah, it's an absolute bombardment. Attention is a commodity, you know, and which it was before for TV. You know, that's where our attention was a commodity. But now, of course, it's like it's 24/7. So, you know, we have to be careful who are we giving our attention to. What are they doing with it when they've got it? Who do we give our attention to? You know, it's important.
Now, 32-bit Caters is saying his mom used to, or their mom used to say, "Go play with a saucy dog." That sounds like a kind of naughty euphemism.
A saucy dog?
That's what they wrote. Yeah.
Not a sausage dog.
One thing I do want to bring up, and then ask you some other questions. There was a stream of so a number of things. First of all, Clea, I used to joke about how you were such a pain in the ass to try to get you onto this thing, but it turns out you are nowhere near as much of a pain in the ass as Andrea Cannon is.
Story of my life. Yeah.
That girl could take you to school as far as being a pain in the ass.
Okay.
So I should probably apologize for all the grief I've given you.
That's fine.
But there was a time when we were trying to get you on, and anybody who wants to be on Music Theory Hour, please contact me. But a complaint I've gotten from like 80 to 90% of the people I've approached about it is, "Oh, I don't know much music theory." Mm-hmm. Like, everybody thinks that about themselves. And there was a time I was on one of your streams, and you were practicing some lead guitar, and you were playing these lines, stuff like that. And I remember you were working through it, and then you said something like, "Oh, well, I'm trying to, like, play the fourths in the key and do these fourths." And I'm like, that's actually big deal music theory you're using.
Are you sure it was me?
I think it was that. I don't remember what it was, but I remember jokingly saying...
Oh, maybe I was doing some, like, these 10th chords that I love doing. Actually, yeah.
Oh, maybe that was it.
Oh, I know.
Solar Symphonics is here. How you doing?
Hey! How's it going? He's made a clip of it. Solar? Thanks, Custom Blink. He's made a clip of it, of me saying tick-toxic. That's a good tick-toxic.
Tick-toxic.
Great. Solar is a friend of mine as well. Absolutely lovely streamer.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because we also have Solar Idolator that shows up here from time to time, and I was thinking they were the same person.
They could be, you know.
But well, I don't think they are because Solar Symphonics has this funny way of speaking, kind of like you do.
Right.
Um, so, but you do know some music theory. When did you start learning music theory, and when did you, and how, and what are the ways that you find that it helps you in what you do?
I learnt music theory at school, so up until the age of 16, I did a what
Oh, I'm
they
so sorry.
what
I'm so sorry. No, this it's kind of like goes to the strawberry thing. I think sometimes in schools they teach music theory, but it's this very abstract thing.
it's
that
very
you're trying to
abstract, and
memorize.
it's I mean, I feel like I was, I had a good, I enjoyed music at school. It was good, but I mean, yeah, it was I wasn't necessarily fitting into what their, what a musician looked like in that kind of
Still don't.
setting. I still don't. So it's true, but so I did it up until I was about 16 there, and then so I got like what they call a GCSE in music, and then like I said, I went to go to music college, which would have been a foundation, a year course that they used to do, called Access to Music, which was absolutely fantastic. And funny enough, I have a friend now who's exactly the same age as me. She did the same course that was available at that time. It doesn't exist now. And she went on to like do some really amazing stuff, and her teaching side went into sort of like colleges and different things. So it's really nice because it's given me a glimpse of maybe a different path I would have taken. But at the same time, that didn't happen. So what happened was I went off and then basically jammed with people and just lived the life of a musician, gigging, touring, recording, making music, literally being, a musician and however I could, doing sessions, all of that stuff. It's helped me. I think it's helped me just have this sort of like base knowledge of sort of what I'm doing. And when I go to songwrite as well, I wouldn't say I use theory in that sense of like, there's times that it's more that I notice when I don't have it there. You know what I mean? Now it's more like the gaps in the theory irritate me. And it's like I'm aware on the periphery of like, oh, if I knew this, whatever this thing is, it would be good to jump to the fifth now. That would be really good. Or it would be like some kind of, there's places where there's answers that I don't have them. And so when I was younger, I would go out of my way to make sure I didn't have those answers because I wanted to, like we were talking about, try and be original, try and discover something, try and write a song that's just not influenced by someone else, but just comes from my heart or something. So how can I discover and find my way on the guitar to do that and not use answers that have already been given? Obviously, as you go along, you're like, I really need some answers here. Like there's gaps and I know I kind of like, I can feel like it needs to do this or this lift needs to happen, but I don't bloody know how to do it. So I would say it's helped me a lot. And then, like I say, now I would probably benefit from doing some more. And I always felt like jazz was something I didn't want to do because I felt like for some reason my opinion of jazz was like, it's a door that once you go through it, you're never coming back out. That was how I saw jazz from basically what I'd witnessed in the jazz musicians around me. Once they became a jazz musician, that was it. That was where they were, and I didn't really ever hear them do anything else. Maybe that's me being closed-minded, but I find jazz so enticing that it's like, I actually really would love to, especially in terms of guitar, more than stylistically music wise or vocal wise. I think just more like jazz guitar is really, I love it. I love the kind of like moving around and the kind of like the notes that are kind of like fast together.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Any particular jazz guitarist that you're thinking of when you're talking about that?
No, I can only think of one that who is this? There is one that I listen to that I actually have as an alarm as well. Let me see if I can find them. This could take some time.
Okay, so I guess while she's looking that up, I'll just
Ernest Ranglin.
Oh, yeah, Jamaican guy, yeah.
I just like, I mean, that's not just showing the bass, but I really like, that kind of style. So it's just like just that kind of moving around sort of style. Yeah.
He's an interesting guy because he did straight ahead jazz, but I think he's Jamaican, and I think then he started incorporating some of that more rhythmic element into the way he was playing.
It's probably why I like it then.
It sort of borders almost on ska sometimes.
That's probably why I like it so much. Because I love reggae and ska, so yeah, that would make sense.
And to me, that's one of the big places innovation happens, and where theory has helped me. Like, you get a guy like him who's like, okay, I can play jazz and I can play ska. Why do I have to keep them separate?
Right.
And they end up kind of like the person who put the chocolate in the peanut butter.
Oh.
You gotta admit that was genius.
Oh, it's genius, absolutely.
Yeah. I knew a lot of people too who, when they got into jazz, got rid of all their rock and roll albums. Like, it's that thing we talked about earlier. Like, they started acting like, oh, jazz is superior music.
Right.
I'm not gonna, But I still find that an odd attitude.
It is.
Like, like if you discover that you like chocolate and peanut butter, you don't stop having Rocky Road ice cream because of that.
Right.
Yeah, that serves a different purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you completely. Yeah.
I knew you'd be a fan of Rocky Road. Yeah, you see, that's why you and I get along. Yeah.
I had an amazing Rocky Road just last week.
Now, wait a minute. That's starting to sound like a naughty euphemism now. And that's something I have to say too. A wonderful thing about when I'm on your stream is you've got a wonderful sense of humor, and you don't take anything seriously or
Thanks.
get put off by anything. Yeah, it makes your streams a lot of fun, and it makes them very welcoming. Because I tend to be the type of person that sometimes I have a great idea for like a thing to say in chat, and there's a part of me that thinks maybe this is going too far and I shouldn't type this after I hit enter.
I don't think that you've ever really said anything that's, you've definitely never said anything that has offended me, put it like that. I kind of got your working on it. Keep going. I kind of just got your sense of humour straight away. I think maybe it's just like my friend would say, it's like maybe just a tribe thing. It's like, you're a musician, so I mean, God,
Have you noticed this on Twitch, that when I've been on Twitch, I meet these streamers from all over the world, and I feel like I've got more in common with them than people who grew up around me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's that musician. It's a musician tribe thing. It's your people. You're the same, creatures, as it were. So it makes sense. Your sense of humor would like sort of line up, and a lot of the time, there's a lot of quirky musicians around. We're pretty quirky people.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
So, what are some ways that music theory has impacted your writing, playing, or even what's something? Do you find theoretical things that then you're like, oh, this is neat, let me start working on this, and then you start making it part of your sound or your playing or your composition? What are some things that have grabbed your ear recently? You can answer any of those questions or none of those questions. Your call.
Well, I wouldn't know how to say it, but so this piece that I'm working on at the moment, which is like a B minor, D major 7 and a G major 7, but then I climb down to the E minor, and then I can go to the A minor, and then I go to a B7. I can't play lead guitar over it because it's changing key or whatever. I don't theoretically totally know what it's doing, but I know that once I land in different places now, it's possible for me to just jump from that place to somewhere completely different, because I'm not bound by wherever I was just a minute ago.
This is a reason why I tend to like to play with people who have some jazz experience because, yeah, there's not a single scale you could play over that would necessarily work over the whole
Right.
thing. But jazz people can get that and can then switch the scale or play just off of the chord changes like you were talking before.
Right.
Whereas sometimes people who only know rock or blues, they're trying to find one scale to play,
Right.
and then they get stymied when they play a song like that.
Uh-huh.
On occasion, I hope you've never experienced this, they'll actually tell you, oh no, that chord progression is wrong. You can't play that chord there. And it's like, what, there's a rule book for this somewhere? Like,
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
hell? Like, I'm gonna get a small fine for putting that chord here? Like,
Yeah.
one thing that makes your music sound somewhat jazzy to my ears, you do tend to do a lot of with seventh chords.
Oh, I love them. Ugh, I absolutely love them. The first one that I found by myself before I knew what it was called. Sorry, this thing is right in exactly where we need it not to be.
Yeah, because everybody's got to see your hands, otherwise they won't know what you're playing.
But this one here.
That's a major 9, isn't it?
I don't know if it's any different to the major 7 or not, but that was the first one that I found and I fell absolutely in love with it. I just love the way it sounds so much. But the major 7s, yeah, I can play them literally all day. There's not a song at the moment where I don't use one probably. And the other thing is that's happening to me at the moment is I've just got obsessed with the key of A. And so loads of my songs at the moment are basically written in the key of A.
Ah.
But that's fine. Again, if I was judging myself, I'd be like, oh, you mustn't do that. And it's like, well, it's fine because I've been writing songs literally for 30 years. And if I'm going through a phase of writing songs in the key of A, that's fine. And so I'm just going with it.
You know, Picasso went through, I think they called it his blue period, when he was doing a lot of paintings that had an inordinate amount of blue in them.
Right.
And he did that for a while and then stopped. So
it's fine.
Sometimes I think we have to explore something, and then we've got like this kind of,
yeah,
almost like a folio of this was my A period, you know? So
yeah, it's just interesting. I'm just really finding the relationships between the chords really interesting. I think there's a couple of things that I want to learn at the moment. One of them is I want to practice being able to just know what the intervals are, or know what the, like, instead of saying, you know, it's saying 1, 4, 5 or whatever, being able to do that, which I couldn't just immediately go, oh, it's 1, 4, 5. I would have to think about it and do the maths for a minute.
oh,
I don't think like that.
that helps a lot when having to transpose.
Yeah.
My voice is lower than almost everybody else on the planet, so whenever I do a cover song, I generally have to bring the key down. So by being able to think like that, it becomes
Right.
easier to say, oh, yeah, this is just going to the flat 6 and then to the flat 7. And then to the
Yeah, I
flat
can't
2.
do that.
And being able to then just do it in new key. I used to go nuts about it, where I would literally go through all 12 keys to find which key I felt I sang it best in.
Sometimes I do that. Sometimes there's not all songs, but there are certain songs, and especially the last few years, there's been like a massive like difference between the verse and the chorus. And a lot of songs have this big jump, whether it's a male singer or a female singer. And when you're doing it as a female in the male key, it's very hard to get that jump right in their key because it's too low, and then it goes higher and it might be like too high. So sometimes it's hard to find the sweet spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, because not all songs have that massive jump, but when that's become, you know, I'm thinking like Adele and stuff like that, you know, the verse is always low and then it does this massive lift in the chorus that you've got to be able to do, and that can be quite challenging, getting the right spot for that.
Yeah, you know, a funny thing about that, in the Jewish culture, their songs have similar thing, to the point where they don't use the terms verse and chorus. They'll call the chorus the high part.
Oh,
Yeah. So when I teach those students, I don't call it the chorus because they don't use that word.
Oh.
They call it, the high part.
so do they just call the verse the low part?
I guess so. Usually, you know, it's never happened where they refer to that. They'll always refer to the high part, and then the other part's the part
But
that
what
isn't
would they
valid.
actually call it though? They must have a word for it, surely. I might have to look this up now.
Yeah, I mean, they're verses and choruses as near as I can tell, but it's funny to me that they just never call it the chorus.
Oh, well, Lindsay says my grandpa always said that. So obviously it's been like that for a while. That's what it's called, the high part. What about the verse then, Lindsay? Do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, do they call the verse the low part?
Yeah. That's quite interesting to me. I like hearing about stuff like that.
And
Oh wow.
for me, from like an ethnomusicological kind of mindset, I find it curious when different cultures will have the same things or similar things, and they just may have different names for them, but because even in the Indian music, they have the sthai and the antra, but the sthai is kind of like the chorus, because it's
Right.
the part that it keeps coming back to, and then the antra just happens once, or like in older jazz where they had the verse and the chorus, the verse would kind of almost just be the intro to the tune, and then the chorus would then repeat over and over again.
Oh, so they wouldn't even necessarily come back to the verse.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
It becomes a thing, and this I discovered. I was teaching a student. He was studying jazz on the upright bass, and when I said, "Oh, let's take another chorus," and then he started on the bridge, because in his mind, the chorus is a part of the tune. But in jazz, like in blues, once around the whole tune is called a chorus.
Oh.
But apparently that comes from the old songwriting where you would have a verse up front and then a chorus that repeated.
Right. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's weird, calling the whole song the chorus. But I find all that stuff really fascinating myself as well, actually. Like just the arrangements and how different, and like sort of the different styles of songs where sometimes you'd have only a verse, or what I would call only a verse, but maybe it is a chorus. But basically you have the end phrase is the hook.
Oh, like a refrain, like Bob Dylan songs. Very often they'd have verse refrain,
Yeah.
where every verse would end with the same
That's
line
it.
or two.
Yeah, I love that sort of thing. So it's not exactly a chorus. It's like that is the song. It's like you have the verse melody, and then you have this refrain at the end, and then that's that. I'm thinking of like At Last by Etta James, for example, might be like that. But it's at the beginning. At last, my love's coming on. And it only has that one section that changes. I found a dream that I can speak to, a dream that I can call my own. That's not a chorus. That's like a middle eight.
Yeah, or the bridge, right?
Or the bridge, you would call it the bridge.
The bridge is sometimes called the middle eight, yeah.
Which is so annoying because it is a bridge, but I can see because it's like you're going somewhere different, like James Brown or whatever, take it to the bridge. It's different to like, then it's not a middle eight because it's like the bridge is something that repeats and it's almost like a pre-chorus to me.
And, I remember Paul McCartney talking about the song Day Tripper, and he mentioned something about the middle eight. And then I went through it and I'm like, but it's not 8. It's like 12.
It's not even 8.
He's calling it the middle 8, but it's not 8.
Yeah. And it wasn't in the middle either. Yeah. I don't know. It gets, that sort of stuff can get confusing, can't it? Because it's like, similar words.
And, it's a thing that I think is fascinating to mess around with songwriting. We have a song called In View where the bridge happens twice. But then, is it a bridge if it happens twice? Because in traditional songwriting, the bridge is supposed to only happen once.
Right.
Oh, KTG is here. We were talking about you, but we'll have to stop.
So did you decide if it was a bridge or not? That's upsetting me now because it happened twice.
I still call it a bridge. There became a point, to me, I think it started... The main place I hear it really hitting was with Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, where they started abandoning traditional song forms. And then you had songs where you couldn't even use those terms anymore. Right. So then we start going, okay, it's like Stairway to Heaven. It's an A section, a B section, then the A and the B again, then a C and a D, a C and a D, then another section, and then an ending. Like, you can't call them verses and choruses and bridges anymore. It doesn't fit that kind of songwriting.
Which is cool. I love that. Yeah. I love that.
And Another thing that I think people then get an attitude about is they act like, oh, we're done with verses and choruses. That's old school. But that doesn't mean you can't go back and write songs that are in a traditional song form.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing, right? Maybe that is like people wanting to be of a certain time or reflect the time that they're in. And I do have respect for that, but I don't feel like I'm that kind of a musician myself. For some artists, for example, it's their job to reflect the time that they're in. And artists and musicians alike might feel like that's their role, that's their job. I struggle with that one myself. I do. I don't. Yeah. Go on.
To me, I think it's a thing that sometimes I think, at least from my own point of view and people I knew when we were younger, I think we have these aspirations of, what we're supposed to be and what we're going to do and what we're going to become. And I think it takes a certain amount of maturity before we allow ourselves to just be who we are.
Yeah.
So, and it's a thing that I am always getting on, where allowing the music to be what it wants to be. So, if this song needs two bridges, then we'll have two bridges in it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I did a recording once. I was hired to play guitar on someone's recording, and all her songs were verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And I got the feeling that she'd read in a book that was the pop song form and was shoehorning all her songs into this form. And some of them felt awkward to me.
Uh-huh.
Like they shouldn't have been that form, but she was forcing them into that form because she thought that was what you're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, I mean...
So I did the session, and then I made fun of her afterwards and told her that her stuff was crap.
And she never got you again, did she? Even though you could have helped her reformat the songs. But I'll confess something, that when I released an album in 2014, and on that album, I don't think there's a middle eight. I couldn't write a middle eight at that point. So that didn't happen to me. No, I'm not. I'm serious. I didn't have the theory to, again, the theory that I got to be able to write a middle eight, I can't tell you what it is. I stumbled across it and it kind of worked. And then it's like, oh, okay, I can maybe write a middle eight now. But it took me bloody years to be able to do it. It was quite hard to sort of figure that out without having an actual answer of like, oh, well, if you do this musically, theoretically, this will work, i.e., a choice, just some kind of choice of what to do. So, yeah, my first album has more like 3 verses rather than a middle 8.
Huh. And if that makes sense in the song,
I mean, I would have rather had a middle 8, but I just couldn't do it at the time, like I say. So
the opposite happened with I don't know if you know the band Audioslave.
Oh yeah, I know of them. Yeah.
Well, Chris Cornell is probably my favorite lyricist. Even more than you, I might say.
Rude, but okay.
But I got the feeling on some of those Audioslave records that was because Rage Against the Machine, it was like pound a riff to death, which was cool. And I got the feeling when Audioslave got together that somebody told them, oh, songs have to have bridges. And now all of their songs had bridges, but some of them sounded forced, like, oh, we have to have a bridge in this song. Mm-hmm. And there was this perfectly good song that now has this bridge that sounds like it doesn't belong to my ear.
Right.
I've also learned, though, that not everyone shares my opinion about everything, so I don't say that they're wrong for doing that, because there might be other people who think those bridges are brilliant. Like, apparently not everybody likes pineapple on pizza.
Weird.
I know.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I would have pineapple and olive at the same time, but I'm sure that will upset people. Lulu says Chris Cornell and Lane Staley, in my opinion. Who's Lane Staley then?
Lane Staley. Oh, I know that name. I'm trying to remember where they're from. Somebody Google Lane Staley. Lulu will write it in a sec, I'm sure. Although she's in Australia, so it is middle of the night. Lead singer of Alice in Chains. Ah, yes, Alice in the Chains, right. Um, I don't know them as much because I was at a Lollapalooza. I've been to a number of them, but there was one where I went twice that year because Primus was headlining, and Alice in the Chains was the slot right before Primus, and their set on that tour was all really plodding, slow songs, and it got to be like, you know, almost like coma inducing.
Uh-huh.
And so I never kind of checked them out much after that.
This has
Some of
happened
their
to me.
songs,
That
like,
sort of thing has happened to me before. Like
yeah,
I'm having a bad trip in front of this band, so I'm never going to listen to them again now.
yeah, right. And it doesn't have anything to do with the band. It's
No.
just the state you were in when
Yeah,
you heard
yeah.
them. Yeah. So they did that song "Wood," which I thought was a great song, and of course, "Man in the Box" was a good tune. But I don't really know most of their other stuff, so I
Right.
can't speak to their lyrics at all. But to me, Cornell, his lyrics just really speak to me.
Well, Lulu says he died sadly, but then she did a laughing face. I don't think it was about that, but I think that might
Uh,
have been about the bad trip bit. So I'm not saying she's not laughing at him dying, surely.
I remember a guy I knew in high school. He'd just gotten an album from a band a newer band we were going to check out. But I remember him saying, "Oh man, but I got this bad cold, so I don't want to listen to it tonight because what if then I don't like it because I'm sick when I listen to it, and then I can never appreciate it for the rest of my life." And he seemed to be struggling with his ethical dilemma of should I listen to it now or not.
I like that. That's relatable. I didn't mean it, Lulu. I didn't mean to joke about that. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It wasn't funny.
She probably just doesn't get your sense of humor.
She knows me. See, she's forgiven me now. It's okay.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear because I was getting a little worried.
Yeah, I could see.
So, I went on music theory hour and I was having a bad trip, and now I can't study music theory at all. People say triad and I get nauseous.
People say triad, and I start thinking about bikers. I don't know why.
You know, there was it was from that game. I don't play video games, but in the Grand Theft Auto game when it was popular, whenever I would teach students about triads, and they'd say, "Oh, those are those Asian mafia guys."
Oh,
Right?
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. It turned into bikers for some reason.
So, I think I was asking you, what are some ways that you've used theory and you're playing seventh chords is obviously one of them. Which again is nice. It adds a jazzy flavor to what you do, even though what your music I wouldn't say is jazz specifically.
I would say that at the moment I could answer that question by saying I'm using music theory at the moment to marry up songwriting techniques that I had before using a looper to what I now have using a looper. So with the loop, just going round and round one section, that can and then you get a strong enough hook on it, you've got your song. Basically, you've got your pop song. And I actually find that fascinating. I actually am a massive fan of that and love that as a process. And I'm always super impressed when you hear a great song and it's like, what? It's only 4 chords. Wow, cool. So I love that. I'm actually a fan of that. But I also am now using this. I'm using theory to basically what I would call flesh out that. So I'm taking that structure, and now I am revoicing certain chords within the within that format kind of thing. So I don't just have to stay on the loop. I'm using theory by listening to my melody and other things to choose different chords and rework the whole song, which is really, really an enjoyable process. And also it's kind of like you can take it so far and then you have to rein it back in again, so you're not going too complicated. You want to maintain the simplicity still, so that it hasn't lost any of the kind of like just the groove of it, but it's just more interesting to listen to.
Great quote, Rocky Baloo. Did you make that up? Rocky Baloo, who it says is the first time in this chat, says a musician is a piece of art that evolves over a lifetime.
Oh, that's nice.
Or in my case, devolves over a lifetime. This is something it happens in some of the Jewish pop music, but I think it also happens in the secular pop music. I've noticed this technique of where there's a definite verse and chorus where the melody changes, but it's the same harmonies underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that's fascinating as well. In that, oh, this is a different section of the tune,
Right.
but it's not musically, the underpinning isn't different. And
Yeah.
going back to what we said earlier, I think it's brilliant when you get a drummer and a bass player who get that and know,
Yeah.
oh, it's the same chords, but we have to play this a little different to
Right.
make it sound like the chorus.
Yeah. I've got that in that same song that I just showed you a minute ago, where it has the, not the same key the whole way through. It's like with that bit, the verse and the chorus, as it were, would be on the same section. So my bass player has actually done something really cool with that, and it sounds totally different. And it has this kind of satisfying, it just has a satisfying feel when it gets to the chorus, because the bass line is going with the melody or something, just to make it sound different. And I like it.
And Bill Laswell did the opposite on some tracks, where I remember that he, with his group Material, they covered a Bob Marley song where he played the same bass line under all the chords.
Wow.
So even when it goes to the bridge and goes to the 4 chord, he's still grooving on the 1 chord and keeping the bass line static through the whole song. So you get this
Cool.
effect of the sections and the chords are changing, but we have this consistent bass line going underneath it.
I actually played a gig once with him.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I actually didn't know who he was.
I used to think nothing of you. Now I think you're amazing.
Well, this was on a tour. I worked with Jar Wobble. Do you know Jar Wobble at all? He's a
The
British.
name sounds familiar.
So he's a British bass.
Oh, yes. He played with Public Image for a bit.
Right, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So then after that, he had and still has a solo career as a world music artist, and so I was in his band during like my 20s.
Wow.
Yeah. So I learned a lot working with him, because in his band he had different iterations. So when I first joined, it was an English folk band, so I learnt folk, and I was singing some folk songs with him, and then it changed into basically Chinese dub, and then Japanese dub. So he brought over Chinese musicians, put together this amazing tour with like march changes and all sorts of stuff. It was amazing. And then the Japanese Nippon dub experience, and I got to work with them as well. They had a koto player, and so it was really a great experience for me, like about a decade of my life working with him. But on the tour in America, basically what happened, we went to Canada first, and we had it's a French bagpipe, I can't remember what it's called now, but the player of that, the French guy, he didn't have the right visa. Jimmy, it was so bad. We had to leave him in Canada. It was harsh. We had to leave him in Canada and do the rest of the American tour. But because of that meant we got in guest musicians. So it was bittersweet, because it meant we got to play with all these like really amazing musicians. And Bill Laswell, I remember him coming into the room, bearing in mind, I'm a singer in my 20s. I didn't really know who he was, but I knew he was like well respected. And this is why I always say wizards wear green shoes, because he had green shoes on. They were super cool. And I was like, this is a wizard. So we went on stage, and actually I'm not even sure at this point if I knew. Wobble would always surprise us with stuff. Like, we didn't know if someone was coming on with us and stuff like this. So it was always really exciting to work with him. And this time, so he played with him. So 2 bass players. I was in heaven. And so Bill Laswell had this like semicircle of pedals around him. And it was so exciting. It was really amazing. There was another musician we played with once as well, called something like Harold. He was a piano player. This was in LA. He was called Harold, like, I feel like it was like Bud or something was the name, Harold something. Oh, I can't remember his name, but he was really cool as well. Piano player, famous or well known. I'm not sure how famous piano player. I'll find out. But yeah. I got to play with Bill Laswell, and I was like, what? And he was crazy good, amazing, very cool dude, very cool.
And a thing that I think is inspiring and nice, that's something that we could emulate about him is as you probably noticed in that show, I mean, massive amount of pedals. That guy has chops.
Yeah.
But then on this one Bob Marley cover, he played like three notes over and over again for like 4 minutes.
Very cool. Does what's needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. He doesn't have to use those chops on every recording or every solo he ever does.
Right.
Wow. So now I'm more of a fan of Clea Rose. Everybody, you got to follow her. I mean, she was in Ja Wobble's band and got to play with Bill Laswell. How cool is that?
Yeah, I've got a few tracks out with on Ja Wobble's album as well. We co-wrote together a few songs as well, so I was very fortunate for that.
Wow. Huh.
Very cool. I just don't really I forgot to tell you.
I don't know, man. If I was in John Wobble's band and got to jam with Bill Laswell, that would be the first thing in my bio.
I should say more. I'm terrible with stuff like that because it's just
every stream I would open up telling everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that more. I'll do it when you come in. It will remind me.
How did you end up getting into John Wobble's band?
It was through somebody that I knew that I was working with. This was a songwriter. They were friends with another songwriter, and that songwriter knew Ja Wobble, and she knew that he needed a new singer. So I got put forward like that. I was working as a waitress at the time as well, so I got the phone call when I was waitressing.
Oh, that's so cliche.
I know, and he rung me. He was like, "All right, Clea." Well, actually, call me Clee. So he's like, "All right, Clee." He's proper East London, like massive guy, like 6 foot something. And I just had a conversation with him on the phone. Got on with him straight away, and he was like, basically, I got the job there and then. But it was really amazing. It was a big commitment, though. That had to come first. So all of those whatever dates I got with him were like number one priority for those kind of 10 years. But I learned. I mean, it was like a dream come true. I have to say it was like a dream come true because I got to tour all the things that I'd wanted to do as a musician. I really got to sort of tick that off with him because I went all around Europe, all around, America. And it was just incredible playing all these big festival stages, like thousands of people there. Once this one, you're like, I had to do this song that was in 5/4. And I couldn't find the one, like I'm telling you. I did not have 5/4 in my system. Luckily, the drummer was this free jazz drummer called Mark Sanders, who was really amazing, a really amazing drummer. Wasn't really the kind to just sit and play a tune. He was the kind of guy like when he was going to go, he'd sort of do something, and then Wobble would be like, hey, like, and then it would be like, and he would do some amazing fucking mental like drum solo, but in this kind of free jazz way. I didn't know anything about that at the time, but I just knew something really special was happening on stage whenever it happened. It was just like, wow, so cool. But yeah, this one time I had to do this song in 5/4, and this was at this big Irish festival, and it was an Irish song. It was called The Rocky Road to Dublin, this song, and so they all knew it. Everyone there knew it, and big massive festival tent, thousands of people. And I'm like, he's called me onto the stage, and I'm like, me, like this, and he's like, yes, you, like, come here. So I was like, fucking hell. I'd already told him, shit, man, I can't do this. So I stood there, and this is like when you get to know yourself a little bit better. Like, I'm willing to stand up in front of these thousands of people and get this wrong, because it is going to go wrong. I know it's going to go wrong. And so I've got to do it. This is my job. So I stood there, and like, luckily, like, Mark just kept catching me every time I was going wrong. He was like catching it because it was in this 5/4 rhythm, and I was probably singing in 4/4. So God, that was one to remember. That really was.
32-bit wants to know if anybody was playing the spoons in that group.
No, nobody was playing the spoons, but I wish I was. We actually had on the Japanese part of that lineup, we actually had I can't remember what they called it now, but it's a flower arranger, Japanese flower arranger. And so they used to, like, it's an art form, so they would like create something whilst we were playing music, and by the end then they'd finished whatever they were creating, and that was part of the show. It was really amazing.
Really?
Yeah, it was really special. He created something really special there.
I like doing those kind of things where music can be more than just music. I was in a group called Piltdown Man, and we did a number of shows where we had painters, and the goal was to improvise with the painters as if they were part of the band.
Oh,
So
cool.
whatever they were drawing, the motions they were making, we would play off of that, and they would also kind of do their painting based on what we were playing. Like if the drummer did some snare drum hits, they might do dots on the
Oh,
canvas.
cool.
Yeah. It was a group of three musicians and a group of three painters, and we had all these different ways of working together where it might be one painter playing with the whole band, one musician with one painter, three and three.
Love that.
The three
Very
painters
cool.
working on one canvas, yeah. And then the artists, the painters, some huge argument happened
Oh,
between them,
God.
and the whole thing fell apart. Yeah.
Oh, no. So, artists can't be in bands either.
It was difficult to find artists that would want to work like that because the same kind of thing we're talking about, that is usually hidden. Most of them, they'll paint at home and then show people the painting when it's done.
Right.
But to be painting in front of people, and to have it time bound that, okay, we're going to improvise for maybe 10 minutes, and then at the end of 10 minutes, your painting's done.
Yeah.
Some artists don't like to work like that.
No, that's quite a unusual, very unusual way of working. That sounds great. That does.
I've done some Twitch streams like that. There was a streamer called M is Me. I don't know if they're still around, but we did a collaboration where I just improvised music to them doing art.
Oh, cool. I would love to do something like that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a different way of approaching music when it's not about a song or a structure. It's about I'm improvising along with this non-musical thing.
Hmm.
I was in a group for a while called Mood Setters where this was their thing. It was all like free jazz musicians, but we would improvise music to a film, to a silent film.
Mm.
And some of it was amazing, the things that happened just from us all watching the same visual stimuli
Right.
and listening to one another and trying to basically create a soundtrack to this thing.
I would love that's the kind of work that I actually want to go into next. Just for myself, I mean, just in my own practice. That having that visual stimuli, I think that's really a good idea to do. You know?
Yeah, they have that actually in one of the first time I saw the Indian Kathak dance. The dancers are kind of part of the band. And they wear these bells that go from their ankle almost to their knee that must weigh like a few pounds. Those dancers must be in amazing shape. But they would be dancing these rhythms that then the band would respond to because you don't just see them, you hear them because you're
Right.
hearing these bells. And it was kind of amazing. Like you're seeing this dancer who's not just dancing along to music, they're actually controlling the music to a certain degree with how they're
Wow.
dancing.
So if they change speed, then the music changes speed. And...
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I don't think I've seen that before.
Oh, it was amazing. I was like, this is like, who thought to do this?
Yeah.
Again, it's like putting the chocolate in the peanut butter. Like, you
Yeah.
know, that,
These geniuses everywhere, aren't there? With stuff like
Yeah.
that.
yeah, and a couple of them are on the Music Theory Hour.
Yes, they are. So,
I feel like we're winding down.
partly
And
because
it's probably
I do need the loo shortly.
okay. Yeah, and it's got to be close to 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock where you're at, right?
Oh, it's actually coming up for 6, so it's not too bad.
Okay. Yeah. Odd times. I mean, I love the odd meters, but I think that was because at an early age I was listening to King Crimson, Rush, and Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Right.
From my point of view, I just find it odd when people say, "Oh, I was having trouble with this 5/4 thing," because I feel like 5/4 we play in that all the time.
Yeah. It's like my husband, our Digital Dragon, is saying, yay, because he loves Mahavishnu Orchestra and stuff like that. And what's the other one? I can't remember the other one. The
King
other one that's like,
Crimson.
no, there's another one that's just like that he listens to all the time. That jazz fusion
Oh,
stuff.
is it Return to Forever?
Oh, Weather Report.
Oh, Weather Report, of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
Some of that's,
We
you
cut.
know, some of it is too much for me. I'll be honest. I'm just like, I can't with it. It's just like, ah,
And I get that, and this is a funny thing about how tastes run, because I think sometimes they overlap. Like there's some free jazz that to me it's like, are they even listening to one another? This sounds like such total noise. And there are people, musicians who I greatly respect, and I love when I get to work with them. And I find like Albert Eiler, I can't listen to him at all. And there's this percussionist I know who's amazing, and he's like, "Oh, I love Albert Eiler," and I'm like, it's almost like a letdown. Like, how do you like that? You know, like that's so. But I guess for any of us, we hear things. How we hear
that's
things.
right.
Having coming up at an early age, listening to some of that very dense music, I think I can appreciate the more noisier King Crimson Mahavishnu stuff.
Right.
But Albert Eiler's a step too far for me. But maybe there are people who can listen to that, and then they'll listen to the punk rock I listen to and be like, "How can you listen to this? This is so lame."
Do you prefer to listen to quite heavy stuff, would you say?
For me, and it's a problem with it's it's a problem I think with marketing, but I've decided that I'm just going to be me and let people who like that enjoy it. But I like variety, so if it makes, and Bill Laswell actually talked about this in an interview. Like, you go to see a reggae band, but after you've heard 3 reggae songs, I kind of want to hear something else.
Same. Yeah. I relate to that a lot.
Yeah, so with Coincidence Machine, when we do shows and when we do streams, oh, we just played a punk rock tune. Now let's do a straight ahead jazz tune. Now, for some people, that might seem like whiplash. Like,
Uh-huh.
dude, you just played some metal, and now you're gonna play like some light bossa nova. Like,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how I like to listen to music
I
usually.
like that.
So
I really like what you said there. It becomes a marketing problem. Like, I feel that to my bones because, yeah, I've never really wanted to just be plopped into one box and that's it. It's just, it feels so limiting to do that, doesn't it?
yeah, and some people seem to define themselves that way, and I almost feel pity for them in a way, because it's like, why do you want to be one thing? That'd be like eating fish tacos every night. Like, fish tacos are great, but after 3 days, I'm gonna want to eat something else.
I've never had a fish. I've actually never had a fish taco before, but I'll take your word for it. I don't think I'd want them 3 nights in a row.
It's a problem I have with cooking, by the way, because like I make a Spanish rice that I really like, but I'll make a big vat of it, right? But the problem is then I'll have it for 3 nights, and then I don't want to have Spanish rice anymore, and then
Yeah.
it goes bad by the time I get back round to it.
Yeah. You just got to make just only slightly less. That's all.
Yeah, I should do that, right?
I mean, I go through the same thing myself. I do the same thing. So, Dragon once says, Vision of a Naked Sword is the Mahavishnu track Clear can't listen to. And that song is one of my favorites. Please ask their opinion of that track.
Oh, that's on the Apocalypse album, I believe. So Mahavishnu has that issue of where there were the first 2 albums, and then there was a disagreement between McLaughlin, the leader, and the rest of the band, and he basically sacked them all and got a new band together. And then they did Apocalypse and Visions of the Emerald Beyond. And on Apocalypse, which has that song on it, they were actually working with an orchestra. I think that's a great album. It took me a while to get into those albums because it's not the same band as the first band.
Right.
So it almost feels like, why are you calling this Mahavishnu Orchestra? This is a different group.
Right.
But I did learn to love those albums. I don't remember the sound of that specific song offhand, but I remember that album and how they combined the orchestra with the group, which I heard was hard to do because the band was so loud. It was hard to get an orchestra
Right.
play alongside this really loud group. But
It sounds like it, not really. Sorry, Dragon. It is good, but
Sometimes though, like when I first heard punk rock, I thought it was bullshit, and it was like, and that was when I was in high school, and like a decade later, a student of mine wanted to learn Clash City Rockers, and I remember just being like, "This is fantastic. Why did I, not like this group back then?"
right.
So
Taste
it's interesting
change.
that
I
you
mean,
heard-
no, I 100% agree with that, and I feel like possibly in like 5 years' time, my brain might be ready for it, and I'm totally open to be like, well, I can actually handle listening to this now, because it's like you said, you were used to playing in different time signatures and listening to them, whereas I would say I've only done a little bit of that really. So it's it's harder for me to listen to it, and I totally respect that it's my ears that are the issue.
Well, and the jazz piano player Bill Evans,
Hi.
I didn't like his stuff when I first heard him, and it was again same thing a long time later where I started to be like, oh, I actually like this. What? So I think some of it is, yeah, we're not ready for it, and who
Right.
knows what it is? Is it that with some of that, I think it's just I was listening for certain things in music that weren't what certain music was about. Actually, I was doing this gig. It was every other week, I think. It was much more dense type jazz, right? And on the way home, I would put on this college station where they were playing this like electronica kind of music,
Okay.
which was much more about the melodies might be one note, bam, 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 but the tone of the note would change as it was going along. And I guess it was because I couldn't listen to anything dense after that gig, after playing this, um, that music for like,
You
2 or
needed a
3
light
sets.
snack. Yes.
Yeah, but then this music, it wasn't about, it was about timbre, how the
Uh-huh.
sound quality was changing over the course of it.
Nice. So that was quite relaxing for your brain, maybe.
Yeah, and I think it was more that I just got it in that I didn't want to listen to notes and chords because I just had far too much of that.
Right.
But then hearing this music where, okay, I don't have to pay attention to notes and chords now, but then my mind went to what was happening in that music, how the timbre was changing over the course of it.
Okay.
And I was able then to appreciate that music because of that experience. Some music depends on the situation or the time you're in, not the time of your life, but what you're doing.
Right.
When I'm driving between students, I'm probably not going to listen to certain kinds of music.
Do you put music on at all?
I do, yeah.
I don't always, like, say, for example, after a gig, or often even before a gig, I don't listen to music.
Ah,
I just have it completely quiet. Is that weird?
Tim Byrne had said that when I did a recording with him, and he said that he prefers to leave the club and not hear any music when he's on break.
Yeah.
He feels that I find that because I was in a ska band for a while, and we would all get into like typical New York musician story. We'd pile into the same van and drive to the gig, and they would always want to be listening to the Scatolites, the Toasters, all these ska bands, and me and the singer were like, by the time I get to the gig, I don't want to play our set because I just listened to ska the whole way here.
Yeah.
So the singer would start doing, and it was even stuff that I might not necessarily like. He was a big Prince fan,
Right.
but I was like, yeah, I'd much rather listen to Prince on the way to the ska gig than ska because at least now when I get there, I still want to play the show.
Yeah.
So usually for me, it's that I don't want to listen to anything.
Yeah, because you don't want to
remotely
like
similar
sort
to
of bore
Wayne.
your brain to that point of like, oh, I'm saturated, I've done that already, so why am I going to go do it again? You want it to be feeling fresh.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's what I feel like a lot. And I suppose as well, yeah, it depends on what it is. Like, say, for example, if I'm working or doing admin related stuff, I can't really listen to music with singing in it. So I found like a playlist that was called Thinking Music.
Huh.
Yeah, which was great. I was like, this is exactly what I need. So if you're doing some tech stuff and wiring and everything, I can't listen to music because I've got too much to think about. So the thinking music is more sort of like sounds and layers, and it's just not. It's not sort of like something that's going to draw you in. It's like a baseline of like, like that 10 minutes, and then you've gone into these other beta waves or whatever. 10 minutes listening,
Oh.
it's that kind of thing. Like your brainwaves have like chilled out and you can actually think about what you need to do. So yeah, I think you're right. Like music has function, songs have function, and it's like, it depends on like your friend, not wanting to listen to it because he had a cold and stuff like that. It's like, no, I want to be in the right place and time to listen to that, I suppose it's because in a way as well, we're regarding it with importance and care. If we actually care about it, so we don't want to like just disregard it or not. Do you know what I mean? And then there's certain ones that are going to draw you in and you won't be able to think.
Morgan Grace told me a similar thing about music with lyrics, and she told me about being at a restaurant with somebody and they were playing music and she kept not paying attention to the person because she was listening to the lyrics.
Absolutely. It's hard work, And when you're out shopping as well, that can be really distracting as well. Or it can be like, if the shop is playing good music, I'm going to be staying in there longer for sure. Some shops I've been in, it's like hell. And I've told them, this is hell. What? Who put together this bloody, and they, we have to use copyright free music, so blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, mate, this is like, you're going to drive people out because this is terrible.
I was in the supermarket once, and John Coltrane's Giant Steps came on their sound system. And I remember stopping and thinking, who greenlit Giant Steps for a supermarket? That just doesn't seem like the place that's appropriate for Giant Steps.
It does make you want to go up to them and actually say, like, who's doing this? Yeah. I need to sort it out.
There's this cafe that I haven't been to that a student of mine told me about, and he says they have great coffee. It's the only reason he goes there. But he says their playlist is all of the overplayed songs you don't want to hear anymore. Hotel California, then Smoke on the Water comes on, then Stairway to Heaven. It's like, we've all heard these songs too many times.
But I think it bothers us musicians more than it does, the sort of like non-musicians, essentially. I think that it doesn't bother them as much.
The Philistines, as we call them.
Oh, right, the Philistines. That's rude, isn't it? Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, I might get my channel banned. It's all right.
Yeah, I just don't think that they're bothered. I think that we're the way our ears are, we're just trained, we've trained them to pick it all up, and then it's like, oh, I can't listen to this one. It's annoying when that happens to a song that you really like as well. Sometimes, you have to play it too many times and it's quite funny as well, the songs that you can play so many times and never get bored of them. Like I've got, say, for example, Al Green, Let's Stay Together. I've never got bored of playing that song. It's, I've been playing it years and years, and it's just a really fun song. Certain ones,
I'm curious about that, too, because, a big fan of The Who since I was a kid. I Can't Explain, I can still listen to, but Won't Get Fooled Again, I'm, done with. But Won't Get Fooled Again is a much more complex song than I Can't Explain. You'd think I would have got bored of that one first. So apparently the complexity of the song doesn't have anything to do with how many listens we can have before we're tired of it.
So could you pinpoint what it was that made you tired of it?
No, because I've definitely listened to, because I'm not tired of it, I've definitely listened to I Can't Explain more times than Won't Get Fooled Again. I can't suss that one out. Some of these things I don't think, it's hard to get data. Oh, that album, by the way, 32-Bit Cater says Slip Kid is their best song. That album, The Who by Numbers, is a highly underrated album. There's a lot of great songs on it that never got played on the radio.
I'll have to check that out. I don't think I've listened to that.
Yeah, that's one of those albums that you might have heard Slip Kid and Squeezebox on the radio.
Okay.
But that whole record, I think, is great. And for me, this is the thing when you're a fan of a group, when it's like, this is such a great album, how come everybody's only listening to the songs that get played on the radio over and over again when the whole album is...
Yeah, I'm like that with Stevie Wonder, because so much of his kind of album tunes are way better than the singles to me.
And that could be a shame, because he's another one of those people that I've mostly just heard the songs on the radio.
Oh my God, you have to. Honestly, it's nothing like the ones on the radio are just literally him making money. which I fully respect. But the ones that he's made on the album are like so much better. I mean, if you've never listened to like Visions, for example, and the visions in my mind, and the guitar playing on it is exquisite. Like you would absolutely love that, I'm sure.
Isn't the full title "Visions is a Naked Sword"?
No, that's wasn't that the other song you just said a minute ago?
That's the Mahavishnu song. That's the one that's
saying, what's all these naked swords doing everywhere? Jesus. All the bands writing naked sword. Come on. You know? Pictures of penises on the album cover. Sorry if we've gone too far. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That you have to know your market to do that. Yeah, that's. I might like the music on that album, but I probably wouldn't buy the record.
Or not have it on display, you know.
Yeah, I'd be worried about walking out of the shop with that in my hand, you know. Yeah. Can I please get an opaque paper bag to put that in? Yeah.
Apparently, talking of naked people, the cover of Nirvana with the little baby on it, apparently that person has now said that they, like, not, I don't know if they want to sue or whatever, but they want to, they don't like the fact that their baby picture was on the cover. You know, there's a baby picture with, like, underwater, and that that human being has said, like, excuse me. Must be pretty weird, though.
Well, and it's not like you would recognize them, so they just don't have to admit that they. This is like that thing in. There was a spate of celebrities who were getting their nudes were getting leaked, and they were getting upset about it and saying, "Don't look at these pictures; it's unfair to me," which is true. But I never understood why they didn't just take the stance of, "Oh, that's not me; that's photoshopped." It could totally be them, but just say that it's not you, and then, nobody's gonna...
Game over, yeah.
Right, so I don't know why that person doesn't just say, yeah, that's not me on the Nirvana
Well,
album.
Custom Blink is saying the person did sue and it got denied. Yeah, so you're right. They said, no, sorry.
Yeah, and, I'm certain that their parents got paid to have them on that cover.
Yeah, exactly. So the parents decided that.
Right, but the thing it's like with certain child stars, I've heard this happen, where the parents get the money and spend it on themselves.
Right.
And then the kid grows up.
Oh, what a lovely cigar I'm smoking while yeah, it's like...
Yeah, right. So now this kid's, baby picture is on a Nirvana album, and they don't have any of the money from it because their parents blew it all when they were...
right.
There was a controversy about that, too, because I know that at first it came out where it was the actual photo, but then they made them airbrush the penis out because it was considered offensive. I mean, it's a fucking baby penis. Like,
yeah.
This isn't child porn.
It's just weird, isn't it? It is weird. Yeah, exactly. And look at all, like, I mean, like a bloody back in the day Renaissance. I don't know if I can use the right words right here, but classical art. I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah.
Loads of penises everywhere.
Yeah.
Chill out about the naked sword.
Women's with their tits hanging out all
exactly.
the time. Yeah.
God, heathens.
Well, America has become more and more repressed over the ages. I think we're trying to bring Puritanism back, it seems.
There's
people get hung up on other people's sexuality. I don't understand this.
Yeah, it is.
When the gay marriage thing was becoming a thing over here, there was a person I knew who said he didn't like, you go through the village and you see two guys holding hands, and he felt that was offensive because, and this was his words were something like, because I don't want to have to imagine those guys having sex. And I thought, okay.
This says a lot about you as a person.
Yeah, there's that maybe that means you need therapy.
Right.
But second of all, now does that mean if I come and hang out with you with my girlfriend that that's what you're doing is
Yes,
imagine?
it
Now
does.
I don't want to be around you now.
That
Because
you're,
now I'm imagining how you're imagining me
yeah,
having sex.
yeah. Now we know what your brain works like. So, Ree says, then don't go through the village if you don't like that. Yeah, it is. It's
But
a
then,
weird
I
thing.
mean, but the thing is, well, then what if he goes to the supermarket and sees like a guy and like a heterosexual couple holding hands?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
is
Is there
is he
no?
going into imagining them having sex? Like,
I think he is, honestly.
I think that
Should we
you
call him? I think we should call him.
No, because then he's going to imagine us having sex, and I really don't want that.
Oh dear. Sounds like a weird friend. Or Ree's taking it even weirder. Or a guy walking his dog. Ree! Ree Bartez! Go and sit on the naughty step.
He's walking his dog, but imagine what they're doing when they get home.
I'm going to take it even further. No, I'm not. I'm just going to leave it there. 5 gold stars? I said the naughty step. She don't get gold stars. She's being naughty.
This is all music theory, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
We're
A
talking.
lot of music theory. And lot of quantum mechanics, to be fair.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
There's been a lot of quantum mechanics.
Oh, you are a joy to hang out with, Clea. I really adore
Likewise.
your sense of humor and your personality. Yeah.
Thanks. I've worked hard on it. Honestly, I have. Especially the filter. Especially the filter. Try not to say that. Try not to say that. It's like, oh, dear. Someone had to bring up naked swords, and now look where we are. Oh.
Is that a naked sword, or are you just happy to see me?
They say you guys are hilarious together. Lindsay says, I'm learning so much today.
Oh, yeah.
We're glad to have helped out.
Yeah, think of all the people that around the water cooler are going to be like, yeah, I watched this podcast on music theory, and do you know that the baby on the Nirvana album tried to sue them because his penis was on display for all these years? Wait a minute. What music theory podcast is this?
It's not about, it's learned a lot, but not about music. My face is actually hurting from smiling, so I think we have definitely had fun in here. Because my, you know, you get face ache from smiling and laughing. I've got that, which is good.
That sounds like a euphemism as well.
I'm not sure what about, but something.
Everybody make sure you're following Clea because her stream is wonderful. And there's more music in her stream, but there's a lot of this kind of, amusing banter as well.
It's a lot of jokes. Yeah, depending on who's in, there's a lot of jokes in the chat.
I love the fact that you'll play along too, where I've said stuff in chat and you'll just join in and keep kind of like what we're doing here, but just with me typing instead of speaking.
Absolutely, it's good to have the bants, and like I said, it's it's a musician thing as well. I'm sure, like if we was on the road and driving to a gig, we'd be having similar jokes, wouldn't we? So,
And some of the people in the Coincidence Machine group, and I think this is still true of the guitarist Matt Klein, I think they don't get this, where sometimes, he's in the middle of a solo and I respond to something in chat, and I think he still got that attitude of, that's not how you make music.
What does he, would he rather you sort of waited until the end of the song? Is that what you mean, or?
Even then, I think he feels like it's, he's still coming from the mentality of we're supposed to be performing these songs, or if we're rehearsing, we should be rehearsing and not talking to those people. We did have, I think he's getting over it, because we did do a stream last week where this joke came up, and I think it started on this channel, but it's gone to other channels and I think it was Kat Lestakai, if you know her.
Yeah.
She was she mistypes things, and she was saying something about dubstep, but she accidentally wrote duckstep. So now whenever we put the wah-wah or the auto-wah on anything, I jokingly say it's duck step.
I like that.
So we were doing a tune, and I was playing the regular bass line, and as he was playing the melody, I said into the mic, we're going to make this some duck step, and I hit the auto-wah, and it's the same bass line, but now it's got the quack, quack, quack sound.
Yeah.
And I think he put it off. He was having trouble playing because he started chuckling.
Oh, I love that. That could be a new thing, couldn't it? Duck step.
Well, we've been doing that on streams where I'll say duck step, or I'll say we're going to do some duck step whenever we use the wah sound, or especially the auto wah.
That's very cool.
Which, curiously, I was calling it the duck box from when I got it, because it does sound like a quacking sound added onto the bass line.
Do you think you could get an animation of a little duck walking across the this?
Maybe that should be the next animated emote we have.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, because I think I still have some slots because I don't do graphics and stuff. I have to have other people do it.
Ugh.
Or I steal them.
Same. I hate
the
graphics.
Darth Vader dancing. I didn't make that. I just found a little Darth Vader dancing and did the conversion in a free website to make it an emote.
Yeah, the graphics is not really my bag either. I find it really challenging. Boring kind of thing.
Yeah, same. It's another reason I wish that we had this thing where people only had to work a little bit, because I think that's one of those things where there are people who enjoy doing graphics.
Yeah.
But they have to bag you like a bunch of money to get you to do it for them because they don't have the time
of course,
to do it otherwise.
Yep, they need
so
paying.
It'd be nice if we could all do the things we loved at a reasonable rate.
Right.
Like if I had some kind of pension or something where I had a bunch of money come in, then yeah, doing gigs for nothing, $20, I'd be fine with that. But
right.
It's just not feasible for most
Well, that's
of
the
us,
whole thing of the whole debate about, gigging musicians, professional musicians and amateur musicians. It's a really difficult one, and the debate continues to rage on over here, with kind of venues and, of course, having Facebook and people advertising for gigs or for sort of free gigs or low paid. And, if you're trying to earn a living at it like we are, it's very difficult when those come in that, like you're describing there, they have already got their pension and they're basically doing it because they can. And that's fine. That should be allowed as well. But it just makes it a little difficult, depending on what because you're trying to make a living at it,
Yeah, kind of where I'm at is that I can make a living with the teaching and I enjoy doing it. So my metric, which I'm not saying everybody else should adapt this, I'm just saying this is what I do, is that if I'm doing a gig where I have some creative stake in the music, where it's either because it's music I've written or I'm allowed to bring tunes in or have some, say in it, then okay, the money isn't the issue there. But if somebody wants me to play, like I'm doing a gig tomorrow, a jazz gig, somebody else is leading it, they're calling the tunes, I'm just playing bass.
Right.
I got to get paid for that.
Oh, yeah.
If it's the weddings that I do where they and they're actually in a way kind of fun. They just put music in front of me and I read it.
Right.
But for me to do this, you got to make it worth my while.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to do that for less than a couple $100.
Right.
So that's the metric that I use. I'll do the free gigs, but I wouldn't do a cover gig for free, for instance.
Yes, 100%. I'm completely on the same page as you. That's it. That's how I earn my money. So if I'm going to do a songwriter gig, then I'll take, whatever it is right now, to be honest, because there's not that many opportunities out there. I will take whatever it is, but I'm starting to even feel a bit more like that. Just kind of, it's just not feasible, really. To even do it.
There are people I know who have done kind of what it sounds like you're doing, where they get a certain amount for their cover gigs, and then that helps pay for them to do the gigs that they want to do on their own. But some of them have had a spillover where people who have become fans of theirs from their cover gigs, they'll do one or two originals in their cover gigs, and then when they do the open mic or the thing where they're playing their own music, some of those people will go to those.
That's very cool.
It's been
beneficial.
There's some people. Yeah, and there's some people who suggest that's the way you develop yourself as a solo artist, is get people to come for the covers, but then get them to start recognizing you.
I mean, I used to do that basically all the time in my 20s, and then I got to the point where I just didn't enjoy doing that anymore, because basically they wanted covers, and so it just felt like a lot of the time I actually don't. Maybe it's diva-ish, I don't care really what it is, but I didn't really want to bother wasting my song. It's a feeling of like you're looking for approval, and they think that you're looking for their approval or their, accept whatever. And so it's their judgment, and it's a kind of, I'm not into that. I would rather play my songs for people that are there to receive new music, or are there because they already know my music and they would like to hear it. Otherwise, I'm happy just playing the covers for you. You eat your food, you get up and dance, you have a good time, great. But if it's lately I've tried again slipping in a few of my songs, and it's been quite cool. And I remember the guy said something like, he was like, oh, I don't know, I can't remember what he said now, but he tried to do some sort of joke that would be like, as if I'm trying to, as if he's going to be, I've got to impress him with my song. And I just took the power back and said, well, basically, I don't really play them that much, so you're lucky to get to hear it tonight. And he went, well done. He actually went, well done. That was good. Like, he was pleased with my comeback. But I was like, that's fine. But I really, honestly, it's going to take that much little extra energy for me to even do that. And I can't be asked. Like, here's the song. Like, if you like it, then clap. If you don't, then don't. And that's the end of it. I don't know. I get a bit jaded with it sometimes, honestly. I do.
Yeah, and I always feel like, that attitude when people start acting like that, like, okay, don't come to this place when I play here. Go someplace else. I don't need you to,
Could you just fuck off right now, please?
Yeah. I even get like that. Sometimes on Twitch, people come on our stream, and I try to do it politely, but like, we're playing, and then they don't look at our song list, and they'll say like, oh, can you play Hotel California? It's like, why the fuck are you asking us?
Delete. Block.
We have a song list. Just look at our song, and we have covers in our song list.
That's almost.
When I first started streaming, people kept asking for Wonderwall over and over again, and I thought, why do they think I play Wonderwall? I didn't realize that it's because everybody plays Wonderwall.
It's not. It's the way you look. Honestly, it's the way you look. They were expecting Wonderwall from you. No, I'm joking.
Somebody ban Clea Rose from this channel, please.
But honestly, sometimes I do, like, the mods will know. They'll come in and they'll say just one thing. Someone will come say one thing, and I'll be like, ban. I don't do it that often, but I can just tell if it interrupts the vibe, then it's just like, honestly, just ban. I haven't got time. It's just like, it's boring, and you're ruining the vibe. And, as you've said before, I've got quite a good sense of humour, and I'm happy to entertain people and to have them come in and, and have a chat and do whatever. But don't come in requesting songs when you've just stepped in the door. It's so rude.
Right. Like, get an idea of what this performance is about, and at least make the effort to look at the song list.
Sometimes it feels like, sometimes they'll say like an obscure song, and it feels like they're probably trying to promote someone else, that's a thing in itself. The other thing is like, again, they haven't looked at the song list. They're just coming in, and it's almost like what, are you that desperate? It's like, mate, have you got any heroin? It's like, are you that desperate to hear the song that you'll step in the fucking door and be begging a musician, oh, can you play this one? It's like, mate, try taking a chair, get yourself a little drink. Fucking hell, I'm in the middle of saying it.
If you're so desperate to hear that song, they've invented this thing called Spotify or YouTube.
It's weird.
Listen to that song anytime you want. Why are you coming into this stream to ask me for that song? And you don't even know me,
Right.
And it is true that it's always people, it's the first time I've ever seen this person in chat, and they're requesting some song that we clearly don't do, that maybe I don't even know. Like, I find that odd behavior. It
is odd. It is weird. And it does generally deserve a ban instantly.
I think I don't ban them, and part of that I think is just because I don't want to have to go over to the computer and like type the whole
That's fair.
ban this person.
That's fair. I couldn't be asked to do that.
But I think also I've found sometimes when people are being more heckling that it seems ignoring them solves the problem.
Yeah, and then they just go, don't they?
Yeah.
Custom Blink has requested on my channel Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas.
And the perfect time of year for it.
Yeah, I love that. That's funny. They've obviously got the same sense of humour as you've got as well.
Custom Blink is brilliant. There's been a lot of funny stuff Blink has been saying in this chat that I haven't been responding to because I haven't wanted to interrupt you, but Custom Blink's hysterical. He is a little bit Dutch. That's the only thing bad I could say about him.
I'm glad you've told me that. We do need to know if they're Dutch. There's just a certain, I guess it's a thing with when people are British as well, but Dutch definitely have a certain kind of seriousness or something. Sometimes, yeah, need to know if they're Dutch. We love the Dutch.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the bright side. At least y'all aren't German.
That's an oldie but a goldie.
Yeah, I can get away with that because right now Americans are basically the laughing stock of the entire planet.
Fair.
Notice how Clea's not even saying, "Oh no, not at all." She's like, "Yeah, sadly that's true."
Well, it's all those movies that you made. No. I'm probably going to have to go because I think I'm going to have to use the loo as well. And we've been on for quite a while. We call this Music Theory Hour, and it always seems to go like 2 hours or more. Well, it's been really fun, though. I've really enjoyed it. I was going to stream after this, guys, as well, people on my channel. But I definitely need to go and take a break. And I'm wondering whether to just restart the stream in a bit, actually, because I might...
Well, what I'm going to do is we have a tradition on the Coincidence Machine channel that we do shout-outs. Let's see if they're working today. And first what I'm going to shout out is our wonderful guest, Clea Rose. It should play a clip. Yeah, we got a clip. But we're not hearing the clip.
I don't mind having a wandering star as a bra.
Why are we not
Great! Wandering Star as a bra! Great!
All over the galaxy.
Oh, God.
In fact, they'll be disintegrated.
This is about boobs. Do we have to listen to this one? Who clipped this? I am actually bursting for the toilet, so I might just go quickly and come back, okay?
Okay, do that while I'm doing the rest of the shout-outs. Follow all of these streamers. As you can see, they're brilliant. Did we get a clip for Custom Blink?
Ay, no. Es que va a ser su bulla. Eso es lo que me da miedo, su bulla.
I can never understand a thing this guy says. Pwangi's here, so as long as Pwangi's here... Pwangi had been asking about the tea I was drinking the other day, and it's this.
Ooh.
It's like matcha that comes in tubes.
Oh.
But I don't see a company listed on it. Oh, no, wait, it is. It's Harmony Organic Tea.
But how does the tube work? What does it do?
Oh, it's got powdered matcha in it. So you open the tube up, put it in the cup, put the hot water in, and then you've got matcha tea.
But is it... Oh, okay, so there's no bits because it's powdered.
Right. Isn't it amazing the technology they have these days, the world of miracles we live in?
Well, we're trying to get away from the plastic because apparently tea bags are just made out of plastic now, so...
Yeah, I've started using loose tea and putting it in a diffuser.
We're doing all the things to get away from all the things that are supposed to have been progress. We now have to undo them because they're not progress.
Isn't that sad?
Mm.
You know, I remember when I was growing up and they were coming up with all these sugar substitutes because sugar was bad for you.
Mm.
And then they discovered these sugar substitutes were worse for you.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, oh, you have to have real sugar because it's better than the things that they created so that you wouldn't have real sugar.
Yeah. It's all money, isn't it? I mean, like when you watch, you know, about the pharmaceuticals as well, and they're all pitching their different things. At the end of the day, even with the food and the sugar replacements and all of that, it's just money. You know, you're better off as much as possible just trying to eat whole food as much as possible. But it's difficult because we love it. We get addicted to sugar, and we, you know. All of it's difficult. It's like what I was saying about, you know, the devices and the internet and whatever else. It's all addictive, so it's just... It's hard for us to go against our nature, and our nature is being tapped into to make money.
Yeah, in some sense, that's what a lot of trash food is it's triggering the things in our brain that from back when we were Neanderthals, our body thought they were scarce and we needed.
Right.
So it's like, oh, give me more of that. But now we're getting stuff that isn't really that, and we're getting more and more of it because we haven't evolved to the point where we realize maybe we shouldn't be eating Rocky Road 3 times a week, right?
Exactly. All of a sudden, they're going to need a crane to get you out of the house, you know?
And let's stress the maybe. Maybe we shouldn't eat Rocky Road 3 times.
Rocky Road, I think we can make an exception for. I want one right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like... And for me, it's like lunchtime, and I'm like, you know, thinking, oh, maybe I'll have ice cream for lunch. Yeah,
I'm thinking I'm going to have a Bounty for lunch, which is a chocolate bar I've got in the fridge. Not lunch. It's not lunch. It's dinner time. Sorry.
Yeah, that sounds like a good dinner.
Custom Blink says a crane could never lift me out of the house. Its wings are too weak. That's a good one. We like that.
So, as the guest, is there somebody you want to raid into? I always offer that to the guest.
Let me have a look if I can find it. Somebody that that I know that maybe you don't. That would be fun.
That would be, yeah.
Okay, let me have a look. Who I'm following?
Well, she's looking. Thanks to everybody for being here for another Music Theory Hour. Next week, the bot should have told you who we have on. I think we have somebody on next week, but I don't remember who. Yes, it was great to have you here, Custom Blank. You know, sometimes when a person who shows up disappears, I get worried, because there's a person that used to come to our stream a lot, and I also we were mutually following each other on Instagram, and then suddenly they stopped appearing on our stream and they don't post on Instagram anymore, which maybe they're doing the whole stepping back from technology, but there's the kind of grandmothery part of me that thinks, oh my God, I hope they didn't die or go into a coma or something.
Okay, I've got a few options for you.
Okay.
So we've got Dan Live, who's fantastic jazzy singer guitarist. Or we've got EBX Erin. Or we've got there was one other that I saw, which was a Blue Cox, who is a guitarist, singer.
Blue Cox I do know.
You do know.
I'll tell you a story because he's Greek, right?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Um, it wasn't because of him not having a sense of humor. I think it was the language thing. But there was a stream that I went on to his, and he was playing like a mini Fender. So in chat, I wrote, "Oh, is that a mini guitar, or are you just happy to see us?" So he gets done with the tune, and he's looking at chat, and he goes, "Or am I happy to see you? I don't understand what you mean by that." Which, to me, made the joke even better.
Oh man, poor cat.
But a part of me feels bad about that because
It probably definitely a language thing, isn't it?
Yeah, right. And they probably don't have that joke in Greek, so
No. Well, maybe they do, but it sounds different.
Greeks don't make jokes about things like that. I'm pretty sure they're very reserved.
Should we go there, or should we go to? I think you'll like Dan Dan. Dan Dan Live is. I don't know.
Let's do that one.
Yeah, she's very cool. Let me see. She's only
How
been
do you
on 20
spell it?
minutes. So it's Dan, Dan, and then Dan again, but with double N. And then live. So Dan Dan
Oh,
Live,
no.
all one word.
No underscores or none of that bullshit.
No, just a double N on the last Dan.
This is something I can't emphasize enough, and I appreciate you for this as well. You're easy to raid because there's no underscores. You didn't use an exclamation point instead of the I.
Do you know what my name used to be before you knew me, though? Which was, I changed my artist name, but my name is Clea Llewellyn.
Oh.
And so most of my music is released under that name, but that's LLEWELLYN. Who's gonna raid me? It's too much, guys. So I changed it.
Yeah, I would have to be looking at that like 3-4 times to try to make sure I got the spelling.
I know,
right.
same.
And might still get it wrong.
I know,
Yeah,
it's
it's
annoying.
your name, and you probably can't.
Yeah, it's so
double spell it.
boring. And I have to, I use it for like, life stuff as well. So it's like, spell that again. But back when you used to talk to human beings on the phone, I mean, obviously now I don't have to because it's just all bot.
Yeah. There is a raid call on this channel now, but you don't have to use it if you don't want. In fact, what most people do is they take that as the theme and alter it somehow, which is fine. You could even use your own raid call. I think that's cool when people raid in and use their own raid call. even though it wasn't
Okay.
their stream.
Let
Yeah.
me make sure I'm actually in your stream, then I can raid in with you. I'll be on your stream.
See what I mean? Custom Blink already created a variation of it that's very amusing.
But we're not raiding out on my channel, by the way, guys. We're not actually raiding out.
Oh,
You're raiding out,
You're-
right?
right, but you just said that. Do you want me to raid into you then?
Oh, no, you don't have to. I'm not sure what I'm doing, to be honest. I do need to stream. I do need to do some music. So I'm not going to raid straight out. I'm going to have a little think, have a little break in a minute, and then...
Okay, so we'll raid into Dan.
Yeah,
Dan, then.
raid into Dan Dan, and I'll
Which
be...
will also be good because I don't know this Dan person.
Yeah, you'll like her music for sure. And I'll come in with you. But I'll stay here on my stream and go back to that in a minute.
Okay,
If that
well,
makes
we're going
sense.
out in 2 seconds. Here we go, and we're out.
There we go.
I'm going to end that, and then I want to just do the thing in Dan stream.
So should we hang up the call now, Jimmy?
Yeah, we could do that, but I want to say thanks for being part of this.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it a lot.
I'm going to text you in the Discord. If you're comfortable with giving me your mailing address, I'd like to send something to you.
Okay.
As a thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Oh, well, thank you for being part of this. It was fun having you as a guest, and I will, my plan is to, like, cycle back and have some other people on again, maybe even more than one, like maybe have you, NKT, GFT.
Yeah, that'll
on
be fun.
together.
I'll be up
Yeah,
for that.
But I'm still booked with single people through the rest of this month.
It might even be like, later this year or, whenever. Not going
Or
anywhere.
in 2029.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks so much. This was wonderful.
Cheers, Jimmy. Well, everybody, we're going to hang it up, but we're just going to say goodbye to Jimmy and we're going to stay on the stream. And yeah, Cheers, Jimmy.
Yeah, to you too.
Take
I'll talk
care.
to you soon.
See ya. There we go. Sort that out a minute. It's back to my normal stream. Let's get this closed up and put this up here because it's very confusing. There we go. That's jumped back over here. So we're staying here for a minute. Hi guys. So we're staying here for a minute. I didn't actually know before that I was going to be. Let me just see what he's saying here.
Attempting to discuss music theory. Sorry. Cool.
Sorry guys.
Hi, y'all. If you're not following Clea, you really ought to be. And Coincidence Machine. Make adventurous music that takes you on a journey through different landscapes, moods, styles, experiences from prog and jazz, progressive, great, folk and blues. I thought it was
He seems like someone I know, but maybe that's coincidence. Funny.
whatchamacallit?
How are you doing, guys? I feel like I haven't seen you for bloody ages. Oops, that's the wrong button.
Okay.
Let me just close things a minute. Make sure I'm in the right place. I'm kind of hungry. He's a cool guy. See, that's what I was saying to you before, like when he was like, "Oh, thanks for like sort of like understanding, you know, my sense of humor when I come into chat." And I'm like, "No, that's fine because you know, I absolutely get it. You know, it's just how we are, it's how musicians are." That was a really fun conversation, and it wasn't too he asked interesting. He's got a good laugh, hasn't he? And he asked some interesting questions as well about the music theory and how it actually relates to what you're doing in your music. I do need a bit of a break though. I might take like a 15-minute break or something and just go and assess what's going on in the house and if I need to have some dinner or if they've had dinner or whatever, because I'm streaming at a weird time. I don't know if to end my stream and then come back in a bit. What do you I would like to know what you guys think about that, because I could come back in like an hour or something as well instead. Don't mind. Where are we at? 7. I might come back. Shrugs. Whatever. Don't care. Whatever. I love a shrug. I've been doing a massive clear out at home. I don't know about you guys, but the spring cleaning is well underway and I've got a massive pile of stuff on the sofa to get rid of. Just been really, really busy, and I find it hard switching mode between things, as you know. So my brain is not quite where it needs to be to make music right now. So I think I will just go. Actually, I'm going to raid us into Dan as well. And then I'll come back in like an hour or so and do a late night stream, probably 9 o'clock. And do a little 9 to 11. And I've got a few different things that I want to do. I'm like, I know that next week I'll be able to start digging back into my album properly again, but I want to like practice some looping and stuff for a live gig that we've got this Sunday. You know, I said I've got like a 4-hour gig this Sunday, which is unusual. It is at Walton Farm, which is really good. By the way, if you're still here, Rocky Baloo and Pwongi, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. And Emma, for your 5-stream streak, thank you for that. Sorry, I didn't do the bad accent, Redeem. Sorry about that. And Anonymous, thank you for the gift sub as well, the community gift sub. And late night stream. What, is that early then? I didn't mean that late, but it's quite late. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, finishing at 11 is late for me. See, that's what we did last night, wasn't it? But I'm probably going to do the same again tonight, I think. Just because I'm just a bit hungry, to be honest. And I feel like I've now done sort of like nearly 3 hours. I thought that was just going to be an hour, but it was really fun anyway. So I don't mind that it was longer. But it does mean that I'm not in music making mode. I now need to eat and then come back. So let's jump out, go see Dan, and I'll see you in about 2 hours' time if you're around. And I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Bye.